Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. I'm Dragnacarta, your host and DM, and I gotta say, it's a hell of a feeling to be standing here right on the precipice of this campaign's actual finale. Like, let's be real, the final battle is literally, like, in-game hours away. I don't know how the heck I'm feeling about that.
Terrified.
Yeah, a
Terrified,
little
mostly.
scared, little anxious. Remembering back to my own, remembering back to my own campaign when my players were doing this, literally leading a small army complete with siege weapons. It was a good time.
Where'd they find siege weapons?
They repaired the ballistae in Argynvostholt
Ah.
and brought them with them. It was a
Yeah,
good time.
in my campaign, we were just having a very, very emotional moment as one of our PCs came face to face with his mother, who had been turned into a vampire spawn and had been sent to fetch them all to the castle.
Oh no.
I had statted her up expecting a fight, but no, there was just a lot of crying and hugging.
Aw. I also turned a PC's mother into a vampire spawn, actually. We're doing great.
It's an excellent way.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to fight a level 20 rogue vampire spawn. That was a time.
Yeah, I'm remembering, like, the two times I've done this before. The first campaign, I completely forget the circumstances, but they knew that Irina had been kidnapped. Strahd was hosting a wedding, and they were planning on shrekking their way in to interrupt it. Or at least to kidnap her before that whole thing could go through. And then the second campaign, Strahd literally kidnapped, 6 or 7, kids of the NPCs they'd helped before, and then literally just sent a ransom note. Like, hey, if you want, to make sure your friends' kids are safe, come to Ravenloft without any weapons other than the Sunsword.
Ooh. Mercifully, that has not happened to us.
Thankfully not. I am restricted by the cruel things that I can do to you.
Yay.
Linus, your group just killed Strahd, right? Where were they at this point?
Yes, my group just killed Strahd. But I mean, before that, they were having a gigantic planning day in Vallaki, scaring all the NPCs with their shield guardian. But I mean, at this point, they were very powerful and clever, and sort of still expecting that they would all die.
Aww.
Just like us.
Yeah. Yeah, and when my group were doing their planning, they were blissfully unaware that Strahd was sitting in the ethereal with Busey just listening. It was great.
Ooh.
It was so
Your
much
PCs
fun.
did any planning?
Too much. They did too much. And
yeah, I know that feel. But on that note, I'm excited
let's
to hear
get the
what your plans
session.
are. I'm looking forward to it. So, let's see what happens as y'all get ready for your last few moments before some very dark places. And get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back. So, last we left off on Twice Bitten. Making their way to the depths of the Amber Temple, our companions delved into an amber vault, therein finding 3 amber sarcophagi that held sealed within vestiges of ancient shadow and evil. Therein, 2 members of the party, Casimir and Kiva, accepted the dark gift of Zudun, the corpse star, bestowing upon them the power to resurrect the ancient dead. Casimir taking the gift for his deceased sister, Petrina, whose body lay in the catacombs of Castle Ravenloft, and Kiva for a chance to one day see her daughter again. Even so, at the same time, Lillison quietly accepted the dark gift of the vampire, bearing with it the secret of undeath, and, she believed, and came to suppose, the same gift that Strahd von Zarevich had one day long ago taken, that set him on his path to darkness. Descending the Ember Temple and taking with them the treasure that they found in the treasuries therein, the companions began to make their way northward down Selenka Pass toward Vallaki, preparing themselves to face the final journey to Castle Ravenloft. As they did, however, they were suddenly attacked by the rock of Mount Gacchus, a fearsome beast, a wingspan larger than the bridge over the pass, therein seizing Esmeralda's wagon and horses, and only after a great battle driven off, even as Lillison, in the form of the blood bramble beast, seized the wagon and, with Kiva's help, rescued Esmeralda and the bulk of their loot from falling off of the edge of the cliffs down below. After recovering what they could and ensuring that the wagon, though parts of it were torn away and broken beyond repair, they regathered themselves and prepared to continue their journey, leaving behind the snowy slopes of Mount Gacchus and the rock as it returned to its nest atop the peak, and making their way once more down to the Svalich Road. It was at the old tower at Lake Baratok to which they next returned, however. First off, retrieving Viktor Volakovich and preparing to return him to safety and relative secrecy in the small town of Vallaki nearby. Traveling therein as Casimir and Kiva concealed their faces and the undead features that Zudun's gift had bestowed upon them, the companions came along the Blue Water Inn once more, therein finding the Mardikovs, who welcomed them as if to bring them back home, and therein began a series of conversations to repair the broken pieces that had fallen apart in the darkness of the temple. As Erthrindir and Lillison discussed the magic and fate of Erthrindir's mentor, yet Metreon reconnected with Yeska, providing him with his own insight and experience on recognizing the friendships around you. After a conversation with Davian about the importance and approach of apologies and forgiveness, Metreon reconciled with Kiva, discussing decisions that they had made and their hopes for what would come next. After Amity briefly invited Dr. Van Richten to join their party, an invitation which the old vampire hunter declined, though sharing some cryptic advice and knowledge as the companions prepared to strike at Strahd's castle, the players enjoyed a peaceful evening of dining, companionship, and a gambling game of 3 Dragon Ante, rife with cheating, but also with fun. And so the companions turned in for the evening, taking a rest and preparing themselves for a final day of preparations before finally heading to the castle the following morning. And so, we find our companions asleep in their beds, some trancing, meditating, others tossing and turning, and one of them, curled up tight, feeling herself slowly fall into a familiar, enveloping abyss. Amity. You feel yourself falling, and then suddenly, with a thwump, hit the ground, a puff of dust all around you. Staring forward, you find yourself then a long stone corridor. 2 branching corridors leading left and right off to the end of it. Behind you, the corridor vanishes into darkness. Torches flutter very faintly in sconces on the walls. What do you do?
Amity attempts to take a torch off the wall for light, and then proceeds down the corridor, looking both ways at the end.
Okay. You proceed forward down the corridor, the torch flickering weakly but growing perhaps a bit stronger as it's grasped by your hand. You feel a feeling of warmth exude through your body as you step forward, each flicker of light casting twisting shadows off the course of the walls. You reach the junction, a left turn and a right. The walls you see are strangely smooth, almost immaculately carved as though sculpted from the pillar of a mountain itself. There seems to be no sights or sounds down either corridor. Just a yawning darkness, faintly touched by the flickering torch's illumination. Which path do you take?
Is this Strahd's castle? Amity chooses left and proceeds down the corridor.
Okay. You proceed down the corridor, your steps echoing hollowly off of the walls. There's a distant sound of water dripping. At one point, you think you hear a distant moan echoing in the darkness, and then you look, and the back of the hall from whence you came is nothing more than a sheer stone wall. You glance forward again, and you see that there are now a wider junction, 3 pathways leading down further into the maze. Left, center, right. Which one will you take?
Right.
The right path you take then, and so you do, traveling forward. You hear your steps echoing, the cavern twisting and turning. At times you see doorways set into the wall, some locked, others yawning open, but plummeting only into a bottomless abyss. You see what feel like staircases turning at odd angles, leading off into nothingness, others plunging into shadows, as all around you the corridors loop and divide and split, a labyrinth that grows around you. And as you come to an intersection, a place where 4 corridors vanish into yawning maws of darkness, you see a twitch out of the corner of your eye. And there, as you turn, you see suddenly emerging, splitting off from the wall, actually emerging from the stone itself as though born from it, a deep, clawed shadow, long tendrils of darkness, sharp like knives reaching out to slash across your torso. What will you do?
Amity steelly resolves herself and says, "Die, shadow!" And she plunges the torch fire into its chest.
Ooh.
The shadow shrieks as the torch burns away part of its dark, ink-like flesh, searing away part of it. You see the shadow-like tendrils struggling, wriggling to knit themselves back together. The shadow writhes away from you. But as you rear yourself back for a second blow, you feel just one of the shadow's tendrils brush across the left side of your cheek. And the shadow vanishes, stepping back once more to the walls. Immediately, from that place where it touched you, you feel a cold throb and then a shuddering, cold shivers running down your body as you feel your strength leave you for but a moment. There's a moment of fear, of panic, as you feel as though you might crumple, and then your breath coming hard, your heart pounding in your chest. You pull yourself back up. The torch still burns merrily in your grip, but there's a small part of you that's just ever so slightly weaker.
Is the dream still continuing? Do I choose a passage?
You may still choose a passage. There are 3 branching paths, left, right, center. Which will you take?
Right, yeah. Amity dusts herself off, and continuing. If she was going north at the start of the dream, she's still going north, so she's going to take the center passage.
Okay, center passage you take. Proceeding downward, once again, as you look back, you see the intersection vanishing into sight as you step forward ahead into the long, twisting corridor. Out of the corner of your eye, you think you see the shadow twisting just out of sight, following it. You see no more branching paths, just a long, twisting, worm-like maze of a single corridor that runs from side to side. And then you hear it before you see it, a whisper in the darkness. Turning around, you see the shadow lunging, bursting forth from a wall as one of its long, ink-like limbs slashes across your back, tearing through the clothes there, its inky touch devouring the warmth from your skin. You turn, singeing its face and its sides and its cloak with the light of the burning flame. Howling, it once more retreats into the walls. But you notice something. As you struggle with the plunging cold that comes over your body, the weakness that suddenly saps at your limbs, when the shadow burst forth from the wall the second time, the wound your torch had carved had vanished, made whole again, as though nothing was there. There is this low, distant laugh that echoes through the dark corridor. And then, as if in your ear, a harsh whisper that says, "I will last until the bones of the earth are ground to dust. I will endure until the seas are desiccated and dry. I will survive until naught but darkness falls across the land. How long will you endure, little gnat, in the face of eternity?" You feel suddenly a whisper of air around you, the shadow lashing out from the wall once more. You twist, turning, but you're just a bit too slow. You feel yourself fall to one knee, the torch still clutched in your hand, but this time you're still too weak, too narrow-sighted to see the shadow creeping forth from the wall behind you, grabbing your neck, stealing the warmth and vitality from behind it, and when you turn, it's gone, vanished into the wall once more. Again and again, it plunges forth, each time twisting. You may singe it, sparks, embers flying from the torch, but every time you do, each wound that you deal is mere moments, mere minutes before the shadow is knit back together again. And you can feel yourself growing weaker. You can feel each breath shallower than the last, your limbs growing heavier and heavier to lift. And all together, all throughout it, the laughter of the dark shadow growing in your ears to a screaming crescendo until there is nothing else you can hear. And then finally, your fingers trembling, too weak to stay together, the torch falls to the ground. The fire burning there, but it's too far away. You're too weak to reach it. You can't lift it anymore. And then the light winks out, and there's only the shadow, with pale flesh, piercing fangs, a dark, lurking laughter, and crimson eyes that burn with hunger. And as it collapses around you, the sea of darkness and cold tearing into your flesh like a vortex of ice and death, you awaken to the gray light of the Barovian morning seeping in through the windows of the Blue Water Inn. Morning comes to and all of you awaken.
Erthrendir, who has apparently been up for hours, sketching something on a piece of parchment, looks over as Amity stirs. "Oh. Bad dream?"
Yeah, wait, hand me some of that parchment.
He tears off a corner and hands her it and her pen.
Amity starts sketching a very rough map with a left turn, then a right one, and then sort of a lot of question marks in the middle after that right turn. Just trying to write down, because I feel like I was in the castle.
"Oh, your dream took you there?"
Yeah, I don't know if this map's very helpful. It's just a left turn and a right turn, and then I really don't remember. There's lots of doorways and staircases and stuff.
No, any bit of navigational data is welcome.
Yeah, I
hope
don't know
the
if I
price
could
wasn't too high.
recognize a random left turn in a castle. I'm sure it has many lefts.
Well,
There's a creature in there. might be Strahd, or it might be one of his minions. It can move right through the walls. It's made of shadow. It doesn't like fire, but it heals.
Hold on. So these are usually symbolic, right?
Right.
Didn't Dr. Van Richten tell us some stuff about vampires like Strahd and the powers they had in their homes?
That was a long time ago. Remind me?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe he said that in addition to that weird resilience, those rings of mist he had, that they could go through walls.
So you're saying that Strahd might be able to just go through all the walls of his castle?
I'm saying if Mr. Van Richten isn't deluded, then probably.
If that's the case, then, well, what happened? And Amity will sort of bring in everyone else who's awake into this conversation for informative purposes.
The squad.
He kept jumping out at me right through a wall I was near. All the corridors were thin, and I couldn't get away from the walls. I tried to run, but it was just corridor after corridor. It was like, if that was Strahd, then he taunted me, like just coming in. Every time he hit me, I got weaker. My strength ran out.
Well, that seems
just
familiar, like when he bit all of us at that carriage. We all felt weaker after. I mean, Earthendear, you felt really weak.
Passed out, if you remember.
Yeah, no, I do. It was a joke.
That's fair. Oh gosh.
So he can go in and out of walls, and we know that he can take our strength, and that if we look at him, there's a potential that he can charm us. Right. So did you see anything else? Was there something in particular about his fighting style, or maybe places that he tried to frequent, a wall in particular that maybe could have led to a room that could protect him?
I was just trying to get to somewhere that didn't just have tight corridors, so that because what he was doing is just coming out of a wall when I least expected it and hitting me, and then maybe I got a hit on him with fire, but he just ran away and healed, and he was all better. I mean,
and with corridors so narrow, you can't do anything because he can just dip in and out like a breeze.
So
yeah,
maybe this is, I mean, whoever's giving you these visions, clearly this seems like a helpful bit of knowledge and less like a taunt. So we know that, at least in this vision, fighting him head on isn't going to work. We're going to have to think of something else. We're going to have to keep him where we want him and not let him get away.
So we need ways to pin him down. Something, either suspend him in the air or keep him in place, grab onto him. I wonder if he can go through floors. That'd be pretty nasty.
I can't imagine.
I'm certain he can, if I can.
Right, blink.
So even if he's like grappled, say, he could still theoretically just slip right out of our arms.
I'm not sure how that'd work. If he can go incorporeal, then would we just be slammed against the floor, or?
Asmodel looks thoughtful for a second. From what I recall, Dr. Van Richten said that in his lair, it is said that Von Zarovich exudes such control over the stones of Ravenloft themselves. I do not know how that would extend to someone who has taken a hold of him, but if nothing else, we should be prepared for him to attempt to turn to mist, should we attempt to grab hold of him outside of sunlight. Inside of sunlight, we might have a better shot, so I'm not sure how that would affect this stone passing thing.
Wait, he can't turn to mist inside sun?
Oh no, vampires, they are shape-changing. It does not work when they are in the sunlight. It locks them into their form, it burns away, they have no control.
Okay, so Sun Sword has to be on as bright as possible all the time.
Mhm.
And I'd also, in that case, need to be reasonably close. Because if he could just slip out of it, then that's a bad thing. I did have an idea, and it might be kind of stupid. Can I actually try it?
Please, what are you thinking?
Okay, so Kiva is going to take sort of slip one of the sheets off the bed and rip off a strip of it and just tie it around her eyes. And then she's going to reach in her belt and just pull out her dagger and hand it to whoever the closest person is. And she's just going to say, all right, take a swing at me. I want to see if I can stop it.
Aerith will take it, and knowing that they've got healing magic and also knowing it's Kiva, give it a real effort, stabbing towards her shoulder.
So Kiva, takes a second, sort of taps into that inner part of herself and opens her awareness up. And I'm assuming if he's close enough, she'd see it coming with her blind sight. So is there some sort of check I can make to
So I will say that given the circumstances, as you kind of close your eyes behind the blindfold and extend your senses around you, you can see, not sight, but a picture in your head formed of the sensations around you. Your senses sharpened with the vitality, the essence of the Feywild burgeoning within you. You can feel the soft brushes of air across your skin as things around you move through the space. You can hear Earthendir's breath, the rustle of fabric, as his arm turns toward you. And as he pushes toward you, you get a very strong sense of a dagger cutting through the air toward your shoulder. Give me, I will say, Earthendir, give me an attack roll, but it's normally.
That's a dirty 20.
Okay. There is a soft cut off to the side of Kiva, your lower wrist, as you kind of instinctively move out of the way, still doing your best to adjust these new senses. But Earthendir, were you aiming to the shoulder? And its just traces a long, thin line down the back of the forearm.
Yep.
Completely missing what you'd intended as she swiftly ducks out of the way.
She sort of just holds, flicks her wrist a little bit. And just okay, so I can practice.
No, that was me being good, not you being bad.
But my eyes are closed.
And you could see it coming. I saw you start to move away.
So that, at least, is something to keep in mind for up-close fighting. I can at least prevent him from charming me.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I just have to stay on him like a motherfucker, but with the Sun Sword, that's what we want anyway.
Yeah, and if Amity, you've got a damn good grip strength. If you grabbed a hold of him, I think he'd have a hard time getting out.
I hope so. Well, it's worked on a vampire before. The one thing is that if I'm right next to him, he could try to get out by killing me.
Yeah, that is
so you
kind
have to
of
make
the
sure
thing.
You have to make sure he doesn't.
I think we can arrange that. Between my cutting words and mage armor and similar things, I think we can probably devise some ways to keep his attention off you.
One very important thing, though. If being in range of the sunlight prevents him from turning into mist, is this the same or not the same as being able to go through walls? Because, as you said, control over the stones of Ravenloft, presumably that is a different thing from his bodily self-control.
Yeah, that sounds like Fisher King nonsense. Not sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I think your instincts are right. Alright. So that gives us a place to start. We find a way to keep him pinned in place with strength or magic. We keep our eyes averted if we can. And we try and find areas that he can't just dip out of the walls and murder us. Is there anything else we can do?
Well, we still have.
Oh.
Go ahead. No, it's your dream.
Sure. No, this isn't part of the dream, but there's the location we're supposed to go to, right?
Right. That's what I was thinking. There's got to be stuff there, right?
The tomb of a guild member with bottles, yeah.
And the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those things will help us also, I don't know, bully him if we find his diary. Keep him in place with the power of antagonization.
Hey, we might as well do something. And if Eva thought they were important enough to prophesy about, then they're important.
And we should avoid this wing on the east side of the castle, because according to the last card, that's where he's going to be.
Until we're ready. So I guess that means our first priority is finding that tomb. Which actually should work out nicely, given my intended entrance method. We're coming in the basement, kids. Aerith grins and pulls out the sketch of Ravenloft that he made, just sort of holding it so everyone can see. Alright, so here's the gist. So we could go in the front door, but that's stupid, and we're not stupid people. That's just Ambush City. I mean, granted, anything we're doing, the entire castle's an ambush, but you know what I mean. But there was something interesting on the sketch. Look down here. And Aerith traces a long finger down the pillar stone of Ravenloft until it reaches something odd. There's a little window set into the stone of the rock itself, about 200 feet down from the base of the castle. It looks like somebody put in a window of some sort right there, right in the bowels of the castle, somewhere in the basement. Which means, with a grappling hook and enough rope, and possibly the aid of Featherfall, we can go down there and get in through an entrance that we shouldn't know exists.
Do you have any sort of, idea where that would lead?
Presumably deep in the basement, if it's that far in the pillar stone. But it can only be better than literally walking in the front door.
Well, but what sort of things might a vampire keep in his basement?
Tombs, hopefully.
Torture chambers?
Look, I'd rather we see them before they're used on us. I think we can't be squeamish. As much as I'd very much like to be squeamish.
I wonder... Ez, you have that spell that allows you to see into distant places, yes?
Esmeralda startles a bit and then nods, her eyes widening. Yes, I would be able to cast a clairvoyant spell. I don't think I would want to use it too often on the day of, just to make sure that, we still have some juice in the tank, so to speak. But I could probably cast it 1 or 2 times to get a better sense of it. I should be able to get a range of a little under a mile, so we would have to be by the castle. I can't do it from here.
Still, that's eminently reasonable.
Yes, I believe we could certainly stop along the way and have a look.
Of course, I could definitely do that. I think, yes. I can certainly do that. I think that the castle would likely need to be in sight, or I would need to have a sense relative to myself of where the actual window is, but I could peer on the other side of it if it were within some sort of proximity.
Well, we have blueprints. We can manage that.
That is true.
Good thinking,
Oh.
Wilson.
Would it make sense to try to do that today, perhaps, rather than tomorrow?
It honestly might help us plan better, and it's not as though it takes much time to travel here.
Esmeralda looks thoughtful. So you think, what do you think? While the rest of you remain here, I do a quick bit of reconnaissance to Ravenloft, see what I can see?
I'd say you probably take, like, at least Ismark or someone with you. You don't want to travel these roads alone. Not now. Not so close.
She nods. I think that I could probably do that. Give me some time to put some things together and I'll figure it out.
You're a gem, Ez.
Thank you so much.
Well, okay. We've got an entrance method, maybe. We've got maybe a method of keeping him in place, but I suppose the other thing is just going to be staying alive.
That is the difficult part, isn't it?
It is.
Esmeralda frowns, suddenly looking thoughtful. Wait, sorry, I just wanted to raise something. If I were to go off on my own, I don't know that I would be able to guarantee that I would not be seen. I presume he's probably watching the roads, and if Ismark and I were to be caught, say, away from sunlight...
Yeah,
you could bring the sunlight with you if you were asking that.
If you brought, I don't know, you could feign that you were returning Ismark to the village of Barovia.
That is true, but I imagine that the castle itself would be well guarded with spies.
You make a good point.
At one point I had thought of cornering Zarovich on my own, but even at that point I had set up a circle miles away from Ravenloft. I've been hunting in the past, but I don't know if I would be well equipped to driving him away on my own.
Should we all go then?
I think we ought to, yeah. It'd be a few hours, but I'd say they're an important few hours. I'm down if y'all are.
So is the plan that this is it, that we're going?
No, we're just going close enough so that Ez can cast her spell, and then we're coming back.
All right. Well, I can't really remember. How long does it take to get to the village of Barovia from here?
Let me check my handy-dandy travel time chart. I didn't, because I did not.
Thank you, voice of God!
Thanks, God.
Oh boy, alright, we're getting into the spreadsheets here, gang.
Spreadsheet time! Dune and asking about travel times.
Do you care about time from here to the village of Barovia or from here to Castle Ravenloft?
From Verlocki to Ravenloft, it's just under 4 hours. So you could make it there and back in a full day's travel.
But that would be the whole day.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, what if we split it? Realistically.
What if we got all of our shopping out of the way, went to the village of Barovia, and stayed the night there?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and did the
like if we were to just rather than keep splitting back and forth, we'll get everything done. We'll go and we can go stay in the mansion.
Yeah, you would be able to make it. It just barely. I mean, it's going 15 minutes over the 8-hour travel day, but I think that'd be fine. You would just make it back to Barovia with a full travel day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
that seems sensible then. That means we're going to need to say our goodbyes now, but I think that's fine.
It's probably for the best.
Going by roads, is Castle Ravenloft closer to Verlocki or the village of Barovia? It's hard to tell on the map.
Over the map, Ravenloft is closer by physical proximity to the village of Barovia, but by travel time, it's probably closer to Vallaki. Just because the road from Ravenloft to Barovia is just so long and winding
Right.
and
So
turning.
Do we maybe want to shop, go to Ravenloft, then go to the village?
That seems like the ticket.
Yeah, and then just hunker down, and then in the morning tomorrow, turn around and head in for the last time.
Do we even have to go straight up to the castle? As do you think you could do it from the part where the roads split?
She shakes her head. I think that if nothing else, it would be further than a mile, and beyond that, usually for the spell, it has to be a place that, well, a place that I have visited or seen before. If I have not done as such, it would have to be in sufficient proximities. I could, have a strong sense of exactly relative to my position where I would need to place a sensor. It is quite precise, I'm afraid. If I do not have a connection to it, I would need to be looking at the window.
What needs to happen is that we also need to plan for the possibility that we might not be staying at the village of Barovia tonight. He might not let us. We might get cornered or pushed towards the castle. I just think we need to make sure we have everything with us ready, because we might not get a chance to turn around once we're there.
Reasonable. All right. I've got a shopping list. Does any of you have anything at all that you need?
Yeah, actually, I might go with you. I have some things I need to get today as well.
Splendid. Amdy, do you need anything? Spell components or something?
Yeah, I might want to visit the blacksmith.
Good stuff.
Just for this, she holds up the gilded human skull casually.
I'm sorry, what are you doing with the gilded human skull exactly?
Oh, so there's a spell I might want to cast, and it needs, check this out, a gilded skull. But the problem is, it needs slightly more gold than is currently on this gilded skull that we got from the Ember Temple.
How can you tell that?
Oh, what a question. I think it's like a feeling where, trying to view this in a sort of the spell way, and then the spell's just like, no. It's like how people tell how much they should sell diamonds for, right? Like whether a cleric is like...
You've appraised it and been, no, this act of dreadful necromancy is going to need a bit more gush.
Also, it's just missing a patch on the nose.
Oh, right, that's from where Metreon dropped it. That works. All right, that good stuff. Okay, and Lilison, anything you need to dig a pit trap or something?
Nothing I can think of right at the moment. I think I'll stay behind to make sure that, Metreon doesn't, cause too much trouble when he wakes up.
Oh, he'll be fine.
Will he?
But...
Look, he didn't drink anything last night, so...
Yeah.
He's gonna be a right pain in the ass. Yeah. Kiva will leave, some dried lavender with Lilison and just say, this and some water will help.
I'll see to it.
Is there anything you might need, or maybe there's a way that you could just get word to us if you think of something?
How...
She mimes a raven flapping.
How big is Vallaki again? What relative to the range of message?
It is around a mile across.
Well, if I think of something, I'll honestly probably ask one of the boys if they want to run a message or something.
Oh, they'll love that. They got quick little legs. Also, one moment, as Aerith throws open the shutters, opens the window, and looks for any bats.
Make a perception check.
Yes, sir.
Can Kiva help?
By all means, you may roll separately or give one person advantage.
I'll give you advantage. What's your perception mod?
+3.
+5.
Can I give you guidance on this for a +1d4?
Yeah,
Sure,
fuck it. Let's do it.
All right, sweet. So I'll help you then, Kiva.
Okay, great.
So advantage and plus 1d4. Are you serious? That's a 3 and a 2.
I will also look out the window.
I fucking hate...
You trusted that the others would take care of it, I'm afraid. No retroactive skill checks.
Oh, great. That's a 10
Sorry, Kaya.
total. That's a 10. I'd love that.
Yeah, you look out the window, and let me check something real quick.
A 2d20.
Yeah, you don't see anything. The street seems clear. I mean, there's some Valachians walking down, doing their business, early morning errands and all. But no sign of any suspicious activity.
I'm so angry. All right, you know what? Wait a minute.
Yes?
Does divine sense...
That probably doesn't pick up bats.
Evil bats! That's a fail proof. Does it sense evil bats?
I'm afraid not. It detects undead, celestials, fiends, and fae. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
Well, that's
you know
unfortunate.
What? That's just so disappointing. I can't even begin to fathom.
Look,
okay,
you're rolling the low numbers out of the dice. You're rolling low now so you can roll higher.
That's what I have to tell myself over and over and over again.
Yep.
Amity, do you think it would be reasonable to be detecting for bats and wolves while we are on the way to the castle?
That would be extremely reasonable if I hadn't swapped to a different spell.
Unfortunate.
I
what
can
did you swap
cast
to?
it, but only a few times. Wait, no, I have, wait a minute, I have magic awareness, which is pretty much... No, never mind, I'm
Also
lying
does
to you.
not detect animals.
Ignore me.
sadly.
Yep,
You're chill.
ignore me.
Alright, well, either there was nothing there or there was something there and they've heard everything, in which case, Aerith just gives an expressive shrug. Let's go shopping, boys and girls. Or just girls, really.
All right. In that case, I will say that for... Okay, so just to confirm, Amity, Erthrindir, Kiva are going about errands, and Lillison and Metron are staying back at the inn, right?
Yep.
Yes, with Irina, Ismark, Ez, and the band of NPCs.
The squad.
Okay, the squad. Beautiful. All right, so Amity's going to a blacksmith. Where's Erthrindir going?
Aerith is going to the general store. He has a list. RSX
Beautiful. And
Stockyard.
where's Kiva headed?
Kiva is going to swing by the church first, if that's possible.
Oh, yes, that's very possible. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, as the three of you step out into town and go your separate ways, we will start with Erthrindir. And just for the sake of, unless you were looking to roleplay this, I think we can just handle the transaction briefly.
That's fine.
Seeing as you don't have anyone who can mind control with you.
And he would not be doing that. Although I do think there is only one bit of roleplay, which I will get out of the way very quickly. As Aerith walks into the stockyard, and just sort of slamming his hands on the counter, hands over a list. Alright, I'm gonna need a repeller's kit, a bunch of hunter's caltrops, a whistle, a block and tackle, a battering ram, a crowbar, and as much rope as you're allowed to sell me.
There is just a moment of silence as the poor Arisex just stare at you. And then they just start running for the warehouse to get their shit together. So, how much money do you have?
A lot. Aerith is...
It's going to cost a lot of money. They don't sell things cheap here.
Aerith just kind of sprinkles some gemstones on the counter to give an idea of the scale.
Oh, yeah. They are not running. They are dashing. Yeah. This is the equivalent of walking into a McDonald's and plopping a fat wad of $100 bills on the counter. They're going to get you your Big Mac.
Excellent.
Okay, there's a bunch of things here. Let's go one by one just so I can confirm how much everything costs. And I am going to presume that based on previous experience in the village and a general sense of wealth, so long as someone is tracking the gold, I'll assume that, and the gems. I'll assume that you have
We
divided
have
up the
enough money. I've gone through
Yes.
it. We have enough money.
Okay. So first thing, what were you looking to get?
2 climbers kits.
125 gold each.
Done.
right.
As many caltrops as they have in stock.
They have 10 bags of caltrops.
All of them.
All right, that's 5 each, total of 50 gold.
Wonderful. Block
All
and
right, what's next on the list? Block and tackle, 5 gold.
Done. A whistle.
A whistle, 25 copper.
Done. A portable battering ram.
I didn't look this one up. Let me check.
It's 4 gold.
Oh, 4 gold? All right.
Base.
Okay, so that'll be 20 gold pieces, please, for your portable battering ram, sir.
A crowbar.
I'm
gold,
assuming you've already... Okay, that'll be 10 gold, please. Thank you for checking the adventuring gear kit table for me.
You're welcome. And as much rope as they can sell me.
All right. They have 6 coils of 50-foot hempen rope and 2 coils of 50-foot silk rope.
All of it. Just give me all of it.
Okay, I forget how much the silk rope is. Let me check. I believe it's pretty expensive. So the silk rope is going to be 50 gold a piece. So that's 100 gold for the 2 coils.
Sweet.
And for the hempen rope, that's 5 gold each. So that'll be 30 gold total for the 6 coils.
Aerith's just pouring coins onto the counter at this point.
Oh my god. All right, beautiful.
Stands, his hands like laden with stuff, and just like nearly topples. And then there's
What is your strength modifier again, sir?
8.
Are you sure you don't want to buy a wheelbarrow as well?
Is that an option?
Actually, wait, I'm calling bullshit. How much does the portable battering ram cost?
4 gold.
Or actually, no, how much does it weigh?
5 pounds.
God damn it.
Are we allowed to buy a pony and a cart?
Yes, there's nothing stopping you.
Aerith
sure
will cast
find
enhance
somewhere.
ability on himself to double his carrying capacity so he can get this shit home.
That is a fantastic flex, and I will allow it. Okay, great. Next up, Kiva, you were heading to the church, I believe.
Yes. So there's a couple of things that she wanted to get, and she figured the church would actually be a better place to do it than a store. So are there people around, or has it pretty much been abandoned since everything went down?
The church, as you can see, looks just run down. One of the doors is still hanging from its hinges. You can still see blood smeared on part of the walls and the ground and the fences. The fence of the cemetery is just hanging halfway open. The lights inside are just dark. There seems to have been no one inside.
She sort of brings a hand up to her neck and just sort of holds the holy symbol of Saloon that she got in the Ember Temple. And then she goes in, and she's looking for perhaps, I mean, I don't know if it's the same in Eastern European churches, but like the back part of the church where like the altar boys would prep and the storage and stuff would be in the back behind the altar usually.
Kind of making your way through, there are a few different areas. First off, the entry corridor, there are 4 doors on either, 2 doors to the left, 2 doors to the right. Then going past that, there is the chapel, where you can see the pews kind of overturned in disarray, some of the candelabras overturned, and the altar behind which stands the rope leading to the bell tower.
Okay. I know he was in the middle of Mass when the feast happened. Is there a Bible or a holy text still on the altar? There would be if it was in the middle of Mass.
Yes, there actually is a text that you can find not on the altar, but having skidded across the floor beneath one of the pews. It takes you a few minutes to find it. The place is in evident disarray and has clearly not been touched since the night of the massacre. But underneath one of the pews, you find just faintly a well-used book with a bright yellow cover with a rising sunburst across the front. It reads Hymns to the Dawn, and it appears to, looking through it, contain a volume of chants dedicated to the Morning Lord.
All right. For spell component purposes, would pieces of that count as small pieces of parchment with holy text?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So she's going to take the little hymn book. And then I guess, yeah, she would go to the back. She's looking for a little bit of holy water as well.
Sure. Just a quick note about the book. If you need parchment with holy text on it, I would say that you can just use the book itself. You don't need to tear it apart.
Amazing. That's great. That's great. No,
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. And looking around, you take around 5, 10, 15 minutes kind of inspecting the area. You find what looks to have once been an office, a pair of bedrooms, kind of what was once maybe like a dining meal assembly chamber. But looking through it, there's no sign of vials of holy water or anything like that. You do recall that Esmeralda had...
Okay.
What's that? Yeah, Esmeralda had, I think... Basin. Oh yeah, no basins of holy water.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think Ez had a few vials left, but there's nothing in here.
Okay, that's good to know. And then while she's here doing spell material searching for free, there happened to be like a little mirror around in some of his stuff or something.
I would say, let me just check something real quick. You know what? I'm gonna say, yeah, there's a mirror in here. It's old, it's kind of cracked. It's not, a hand mirror or anything. It's, a good it's like 2.5 by like 1.5 feet across. So you can kind of pick it off the wall and take it with you.
Yeah, she just needs a tiny little guy. Like a small mirror. Yeah, she could take like a piece of it or like shatter it. I don't know. That's bigger than she needs.
I would say you can kind of very painstakingly, assisted by the sun sword as well, kind of carve part of the mirror in place. It'll be tough to keep it in place. You might have to do some finagling, but I would say that with, the better part of like 20, 30 minutes work, you could probably pull something off.
Okay, cool. So once she has at least 2 of the spell components she was looking for, she's going to then go to the dress shop next. And get her spooky aesthetic black bridal veil.
Okay, that's very doable. That they can assemble that relatively quickly. It'll cost, let's say, 3 gold pieces, 5 gold pieces if you want it embroidered with more additional spooky things. 3 gold pieces for a very simple one. 5 for...
I would love it embroidered with like those creeping vines that always come out of her when she casts spells. That would be super fucking aesthetic. I'm not saying this because I want someone to draw it or anything, but
yeah, I would say that they can probably do like a rush job over the course of like, it's not going to be really nice embroidery, but it's going to be functional. I can Kaya's probably going to
totally
tell
fine.
me I'm getting this wrong, but I would say, given that you're in a rush and it's kind of functional, I would say about an hour's work and the 5 gold.
Great. Okay. So she'll easily pay that with probably a little extra. She'll probably give them like 10 gold because she's got money to burn now. She might as well be generous. And then she's going to go to, I guess, the armorer because she's looking for half plate.
Okay, half plate. Let me pull that up. That's pretty pricey. I will say that given that it's half plate, you're able to find an armorer, but they don't have anything that would immediately fit you. They could make it over the course of around a week. But Vallaki is not a place that is rife with half-plate armor.
That.
The most they seem to have done is a breastplate for the Baron.
How about just a breastplate then?
Yeah, the best armor that they have readily available.
So they can give you a breastplate that is already prepared. Unfortunately, I believe that... breastplate gives you AC... Let me put the armor chart.
It's 14 plus 2.
Yeah, I think that since studded leather is plus your dex mod, and your dex mod's plus 3, it actually wouldn't make a functional difference.
Yeah, it would.
Because the breastplate...
Studded leather's AC 12.
Studded leather's 12 plus dex.
Yes.
Plus the shield, right?
Yeah, which is 17. With the breastplate and the shield, that's 18.
Yes, okay, got it. Yeah, breastplate, yes. Okay, breastplate, you could raise it by... You could raise your AC by 1.
I think it's worth it.
We have nothing else to spend money on.
Yeah, every little bit counts, I think. Yeah.
Sure. No, that's a good idea. I completely forgot the plus 1 difference. Breastplate will be 400 gold pieces.
So that would be 4,000 silver.
Yeah.
Pour
Oh
and
my!
drown
You
them in it.
are that person who counts out pennies at the checkout
I don't
line.
have any gold. It was all silver.
4,000
all right.
silver will do. Also, I'm assuming
Okay.
that you guys factored out the money you lost over the bridge, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then yeah, 4,000 silver will do it. The armorer looks like he wants to die, but he'll do it.
He's making more money than the average occupant of this town makes in like 10 years. He can deal with it.
True, but have you considered how long it takes to count out 4,000 silver?
He can
Yeah,
pay someone to do it.
Kiva was there for a while. All right, so that I think, and then I guess at the armor or maybe the blacksmith, just looking for like powdered silver or iron. It's another spell component.
Powdered silver. They aren't able to sell it to you, but if you have silver pieces, I'm not sure how powdered silver is made, but I would say, I
Just
will
hire
say,
somebody to like sit there with a silver piece and like a file, just like literally sanding off pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you could do it, but it would if you wanted to get any appreciable amount of powdered silver, they would have to like melt it down. They would have to, harden it. They would need to.
What
file
about
it down.
like iron? Would iron be easier?
You don't really have powdered iron around. Like they could do the same thing, but it would take a day to produce any appreciable amount.
All right, I might as well just. Yeah, but we're not coming back. All right, never mind. I'm sure Ez probably has something somewhere that I could use for a spell component because I think we have pretty similar spells.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all of that done, I guess she would just she'd just head back. That was everything that she needed. So yeah, she's got her cloak, so she's vibing. She looks really cool in Rahdeen's cloak and her bridal veil.
Love it. And Amity, what were you going to pick up as well? Oh yes, it's a kick-ass breastplate.
So Amity was going to go down to the blacksmith and just casually say, so how much would it be to, if I have some metal and an object, melt the metal and sort of laminate the object with it?
Blacksmith blinks at you and says, well, if you wanted to sort of gild something with, you would have to provide the material, of course, but I suppose it would be, depending on the artistry of it, probably 1 gold piece for very simple, 10 gold pieces if you wanted a bit more artistic work. And I would need a day to complete it.
A day, so tomorrow morning would be?
He nods.
All right. 1 second while I consult with my companions. So Amity's gonna go run around the town and find someone and be like, is it
You actually find Kiva
possible...
walking up to the blacksmith.
Kiva walking up
about
to
to
the same blacksmith.
purchase something in the future. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with all those silver coins? Okay, do you think the plan could maybe be, since it seems like some people here need time, to go to Castle Ravenloft today, come back to Vallaki, and then set off from Vallaki tomorrow? Or are we set on going to the village of Barovia?
I think it's possible, but I also, I just want to, I tend to think on the dark side of things, prepare for the fact that we might not be able to come back for it, is all I'm going to say.
Amity nods. All right. I will put in an order to pick up tomorrow morning, here, and hopefully we make it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you taking the fancy version or the just dunk it in a vat of gold option?
I'll take the 10 GP version. I can splurge on making this look good. But yeah, okay. the main thing is that Amity's like, all right, here's the object, and sets down this human skull, and here's the material, and sets out like 50 gold pieces.
His eyes kind of bulge out it, like, holy shit, this is more gothic and more horrifying and more valuable than I've ever seen. But he will do the job. He will literally melt down that gold and gild the skull in it for you. And Kiva, do you want to drop off your silver as well? Just in case you want to come back?
might as well. How much do you think they'd need? Like 100?
Depends
200?
on how. So it depends on how much silver are you looking to powder?
I don't. It's just for spell components. You just need a little bit each
what's
time.
the spell?
That's a great fucking question. I think it's not Shield of Faith. It's not that one.
Protection
from evil and good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one just needs a little tiny bit of it. So yeah, you could just get a little bit. So I would say leave 5 silver pieces plus an additional gold piece because the filing is very unpleasant.
Also,
okay, so
Serena, would you like more holy water?
I mean, I don't have I don't have any. I don't think I've ever cast that spell before that needs it.
No, I meant more that like
it.
if you want to powder down silver, the description of holy water just says you can spend a spell slot to make some if you take an hour.
Oh, fuck yeah. Then yeah. Yeah.
It just takes 25 gold worth of silver.
Okay, so can I leave like 200 silver then?
Yeah, totally. I would say that probably is that all 200 silver to get powdered?
Yeah, because then I can use some of that powder also to make holy water.
I think you need 250.
250?
Well, it needs 25 gold worth of powdered silver to make a dose of holy water.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so I'll leave, I guess, let's do 450 then, right? Because I can have 200 worth of powder and 250 worth of for the holy water, I guess, or 300 maybe.
Why don't you just leave like how much silver have you got left?
I've got 1900 silver.
Then, if you've got the spell slots, then just have them make as much as you can.
Yeah, I'll just give them 900 silver and we'll go for that because I do want to have some money in case she leaves and needs like transport or something, you know.
Okay, so Kiva, how much silver would you like to be powdered down for your purchase?
Final answer, 500.
Okay.
That gives me the chance to make 1 holy water and have enough powdered silver. We're good.
Okay, so 500 silver. So you can Boxes will melt it down, solidify it, then grind it all. It's gonna be a lot of suffering. So I would say that that's gonna be, let's say, 50 gold pieces.
Okay, so yeah, then they can just take it out of that. If that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have a little less ground silver, which is fine.
So the 500 silver is 50 gold pieces. Unfortunately, this is going to be a lot of labor. This poor guy's going to be up all night.
Oh, I'm misunderstanding.
No, yeah, he just actually has to grind it down, like, against a file for the entirety of the next 18 hours.
Well, I mean, that's your fucking job, man. Okay. So, I guess... fucking Christ.
We've got enough money.
I'll give him 900 altogether. So 400 of it is going to be ground down. The 500 of it is going to be to pay.
Okay, so 400 worth of powdered silver will be available for you in around 24 hours.
Great.
As will the gilded skull for Amity. Okay, anything else at the blacksmith? I will take that as a no.
No, yeah.
All right, Erthrendir, you're dropping stuff off at the inn. Are you finished up with your trip as well?
Just very comically, yes. Like, I don't think he fits through the door without assistance. There's so much stuff in his arms.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, once that, from there he will wait for the rest of the gang to reconvene.
Okay, that sounds good. In that case, over the course of the next 30 to 60 minutes, Amity and Kiva come filtering in as well, and the gang is reconvened.
Alright, I got everything we need, I think. What about y'all? Did you find everything you wanted?
Kiva nods and just, runs upstairs to grab everything else because we're leaving, right? So it's just like pack up and get your shit and get out.
We are under the assumption that we'd like to come back here, but we might not.
Okay. In that case, gathering yourselves all together and leaving poor Esmeralda's wagon behind, but taking with you anything that you've managed to purchase, any of your equipment and gear. Is there anything more that you would like to do before setting off out of Vallaki?
Aerith will say brisk goodbyes to Victor and the Mardikovs with the understanding that they'll probably be back, but if not, Godspeed. And on the off chance they're not, he is leaving something with them. Namely, that obsidian and gold scepter he got in the Ember Temple, the one that's worth 2,500 gold. He is...
Danica's
yep.
eyes open wide, and she just says, "You do know that this..." There's like a war going on in her eyes right now that you can tell is like somewhere split between, you do realize that this is literally fucking impossible to liquidate, and also, holy fuck, this is really shiny.
I also have more portable things if you want. We have gems and such.
You have... I suppose at this point that it would be absolutely fruitless to decline any of your companions' gifts. All I will say is, whatever you wish to leave, do so, but I am quite sure that we will see you again soon.
I know. I just want to be sure that the folks who have held us and sheltered us and kept us safe for the past month of hell don't come out of this high and dry.
She nods, smiling back at you. Well then, you know, we've seen quite a number of people from outside of the mists come into our little inn, but not all the memories are happy. I think that whatever else happens, as much as we've tried to give gifts to others that have come by our bar and tables, know that we appreciate your gifts beyond these as much as one could.
Aerith's fogging up a little, but he just wipes away a tear and says, likewise. And he leaves.
Go well, Herfrindir, and the rest of you.
Be safe, Danica.
All right. She watches you go, tucking away whatever you deign to leave, and you regroup with your companions.
Y'all ready?
Might as well go before it gets dark.
As ready as we can be.
Let's rumble.
Okay, then. And so, setting off together down the eastward path through Vallaki, you make your way toward the old iron gates, passing beyond the guards, watching the dark forest beyond, and leave the small town behind you as you pass into the Svalich Wood and toward Castle Ravenloft in the distance. And that's where we'll take our break. So, I can confidently say scoping out Ravenloft for a reconnaissance mission was not really on my list of things to prepare today. This is great.
I mean,
We're sorry.
I'm hyped for
Are
this.
we?
This is great.
are we
I
though?
have never, ever seen a party go to a dungeon to scope it out and then leave. No one does that. I'm so excited. This is everything I could have ever asked
The people
for.
who played I6 Ravenloft, that was the way it was designed, was that you go in for a little bit and you come back out and you regroup, and then you go back in and you come back out and regroup. So we're tapping into our roots here.
I mean, are we actually going in though, or are we just like sitting
We're
down
just-
a mile away?
No, I
Yeah,
feel like we're
so
just
as
sitting
come.
down as close as possible.
Ez has made clear that if she's not looking at that window, she can't actually see through it.
Okay,
Just
we'll
gotta
sit
need to be near it.
down. We'll sit
All
down
right.
like across the bridge from it.
Great.
That's not...
No, it's gonna work fine. We're fine.
All right,
Alternatively, we just
We'll see
have
what happens.
Kaz cast fly on her.
that's true.
Yeah, just like hover a mile outside the window.
Outside the window, yeah.
Yep. All right. In that case, we will see how that works when we come back. Speaking of which, We will pick this back up after a quick 15-minute break with this week's Fireside Chat featuring Literary DM, a YouTube TTRPG guide creator and writer, speaking about creating horror and tension in your RPG games. So please enjoy, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features, where I, your host Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to Literary DM, a YouTube guide creator and a writer, about creating horror and tension for your games. What is horror and what role does tension play in it?
So horror, specifically the horror genre, is about making the audience scared. You can typically know most genres by how they do tension and release. So comedies will do tension through the build up to the punchline and release through laughter. Romance is the will they, won't they. For horror, it's about making the audience scared and building up to the terror that they experience. This can be done through a wide variety of ways. So usually the tension is the buildup of when is the monster going to appear, or when is X, Y, or Z going to happen. So for Jaws, it's when is Jaws going to show up. For Alien, it's where is the alien and where is it going to appear next. It's that mystery and the buildup to the next scare, more or less.
How are TTRPGs different from other forms of media? How do different TTRPGs convey horror?
That's honestly a great question, because movies and books have to convey their stories differently to TTRPGs because you're at the table. And because of that, it can almost be harder to do so. You can do a lot of things like lowering the lights, putting on spooky music, maybe light some candles, but through the mechanics, that's where a lot of things can shine through. So for instance, 5th edition does a lot of things through aesthetic. It does gothic horror really well. It's why the Ravenloft setting is really popular, because it does gothic horror and everything to do with that subgenre extremely well. Then you have something like Call of Cthulhu, where the tension and release is primarily through the fact that your PCs are more or less paper thin and they could die at any moment. So the tension comes in the fact of you want to avoid as many fights as possible, and it's also the fact that your sanity can go down at any point in time. And so it's that balance of knowing when to risk something. But my personal favorite is the Dread system. It's really cool how it does it with the Dread Tower. So for those who don't know, the Dread system is a really simple horror game where you just play a character, and then whenever you need to do an action, the GM will call you to pull from the Dread Tower. It's a Jenga tower. So the moment that tower falls over, suddenly your character dies or something really bad happens. So the tension there and the horror there is seeing the tower become more and more unstable and just waiting for that moment of when you're going to be the one to die. It's really fascinating, and I think it probably does horror the best.
How does Curse of Strahd specifically convey horror?
Curse of Strahd primarily does it through the aesthetic. Curse of Strahd is what would be known as gothic horror. Categorized as having gothic structure, so a lot of churches, castles, graveyards, and typically monsters. Frankenstein, Bram Stoker's Dracula, these are classic gothic horror stories. So that's how Ravenloft, specifically Barovia with Curse of Strahd, does it. But it also plays into the fact that, specifically the 1st edition, that you, the player, know what a vampire is. And Strahd, one of the reasons why he's an iconic villain is that he was written to be played like a player character. So he moves around the map. He could be anywhere. And it plays into that mystery of the monster could be here at any moment. And you dare not say his name, otherwise he could scry on you just as easily. So it really plays into the horror of, one, the aesthetic, but two, the fact of, you know what a vampire is, you're about to go up against one, and guess what? He's moving around the map and can spy on you. Be careful.
How does tension at a table impact the way that players act and react, especially when it comes to Curse of Strahd?
This is fascinating. Anytime I run a horror game, you almost see a pseudo fight or flight instinct coming into play, where some players become extremely cautious and want to be the most careful they've ever been when going around the map and into dungeons and fighting monsters. They want to make sure that everything is okay and that they don't overstep certain things. Whereas some will just want to rush in and fight everything because that's their natural response. So you almost know you're really getting the players when those emotions are starting to come out, or when you successfully manage to do the quote-unquote jump scare and actually get the whole table to freak out. So I just really love witnessing that happen in players and hearing them almost vocalize their terror, I guess you could call it. So it's a lot of fun to see. I would say let things build up to those moments. Let the moment hang. You could do the whole also lowering of the lightings. If you have candles, go ahead and light them, put on the spooky music, get into the mood. But the biggest thing is potentially even slowing down your wording, making sure you're keeping eye contact with the players, suck them into the moment. And then when the tension increases and you're getting to the moment of where the scary thing is supposed to happen, that's when you do like a noise or slam your fist on the table to get a jump out of them, if you will. But also, it's basically just building that tension at the table and just sucking them in and taking your time. It's something I'm personally still working at, and I think a lot of Dungeon Masters are, but that is the biggest thing, and that can just go for a lot of things at the table, just to help with better payoffs, is just knowing when to do something and just building that pacing properly.
Where can people find you and your work?
So my name is Literary DM. You can find me on YouTube at Literary DM. I make weekly YouTube videos dedicated to player and DM tips, emphasizing media and writing tools to help enhance your games. You can also find me at Twitter at DM Literary, and on Twitch, where I stream weekly Saturday coffee hangouts at twitch.tv/literary_DM.
My friends, it is I, Count Strahd von Zarovich, and I bid thee listen. The Guild of the Black Crow have produced over 5 hours of ambient sound design for my most beautiful and ancient land. As used by Twice Bitten, these ambient backgrounds include my most private and intimate of letters, as well as bonus tracks not found in the Dungeon Master's Handbook. So, hear me now. I guarantee you safe passage to their camp. Support them, and perhaps we shall meet sooner than you think.
If you think your hometown has problems, you haven't spent nearly enough time in the village of Barovia. Over the years, their taste for human flesh had only grown. The vampire spawn, the undead cult, the werewolf den. I just think we can do a little better here. Grab our shovels and we're gonna add some depth to help you run your best Curse of Strahd possible. You're welcome. He flies into a fit of rage that is unparalleled. There's child abuse galore through this thing. He's been nailed to the wall with very long iron spikes, and I imagine it's been a very uncomfortable time for him.
You see, in tracking a monster, one always needs proper bait.
Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, is proud to be sponsored by Foundry VTT, The Forge, and Benios Battle Maps. If you're looking for a self-hosted, modern, feature-rich virtual tabletop for your D&D or other TTRPG games, make sure to check out Foundry Virtual Tabletop, a one-time purchase software that lets your players connect and play for free. If low-effort automation, a gorgeous, user-friendly interface, and an endless library of additional features sound up your alley, make sure to check out Foundry at foundryvtt.com. If you're looking to host your Foundry VTT game in the cloud, make sure to also check out The Forge, a no-hassle RPG platform that's uniquely integrated with Foundry VTT. Manage your games online efficiently and easily, and stay focused on being a great dungeon master instead of spending precious preparation time managing local servers. Check them out at forge-vtt.com. Finally, if you're running a Curse of Strahd campaign of your own, make sure to check out Benios Battle Maps, a creator of high-quality, animated 3D battle maps and tokens for your D&D game. Become a patron at patreon.com/BeniosBattleMaps to receive animated battle maps for Death House, Argnvastolt, and a full render of Castle Ravenloft, complete with built-in sound effects, scene handouts, and a full automatic Foundry integration. To see Benios' Ravenloft maps in action, make sure to watch Twice Bitten's climactic finale, as our heroes delve into the depths of Strahd's lair.
Hey y'all, Serena here. If you like what you're watching, you can scroll down the page a little bit and hit the subscribe button, as well as the bell to stay notified for when our next episode goes live. You can also click through to our channel to watch all of our past sessions, fireside chats, and highlights from the stream. If you want to stay connected with us, you can do so via our Reddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, or our Twitter page at twicebittencos, or by good old-fashioned email, twicebittencos@gmail.com.
And welcome back, everybody. Just a quick note, something I forgot to mention earlier in the episode. We are very sad to be without our dear Jack today, who is unavailable due to the horrible thing known as IRL. So we will mourn his absence, but look forward to having him back soon. I believe we will be taking off next week. Can anyone confirm that?
Yes.
We will, yes.
Yes, but we will be back hopefully in 2 weeks' time, so thank you for your patience, and we look forward to rejoining you as we trek into the final annals of this adventure. With that said, I think we are all ready to dive right back in. So, as you make your ways outside of Vallaki and once more onto the old Svalich Road, it's not long before the small misty town vanishes behind the meandering dirt trail behind you, the trees clawing at the air behind you as their shadows overstretch the path that vanishes away into the fog. You soon find yourselves climbing the path as it ascends toward the exit of the valley, and as you do, Esmeralda's hand twitches toward the rapier at her side as her eyes seem to catch something moving in the underbrush. She quietly glances toward the rest of you and murmurs, "I believe we might have a friend. I believe I spotted a wolf in the underbrush."
Kiva lowers her veil and just sort of as the sun's in that direction, which I'm going to now say is probably on at like its dimmest setting.
Can Aerith make out the shape in the underbrush?
Make a perception check for me.
Yes, sir. 5.
5. You eventually do with Esmeralda's assistance. You don't make out the shape itself, but she points off to a patch of trees and thorny brambles where she spotted it last, and you think you see a faint flicker of movement that then vanishes behind a tree some 60, 70 feet away. But you're pretty sure that you're confident that you're being followed.
Yep. Aerith will keep walking, but at the moment when he kind of nods at Esmeralda, and whispers a plan. And at the moment when he catches like sight of it again, he is going to blast it with the strongest magic missile he has.
Okay. Let me just think about how to adjudicate this real quick. What's the range of magic missile?
120 feet.
Okay. Slowly, as you make your way down the path, then you don't see, but you hear very faintly flickers of motion through the underbrush, and then there's a moment when Esmeralda's gaze slides over, and you see the flicker of a gray furred tail and haunches just behind a black barked tree around 40 feet away. I will need to make a dexterity check for me.
All right.
To see if it gets to run away quick enough.
Is this initiative or?
Functionally, yes.
17.
Natural 1.
Woo! Ez and I both get our spells then.
Yep.
Sweet.
I will say yours go first as the missiles spiral through the air, smashing against the wolf. Give me some damage.
You ever do a 5th level magic missile?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. That's 20 force damage.
You know the last episode of Invincible?
Oh,
wolf meat,
like that.
wolf meat.
It looks like that.
Oh.
There's not much left of the wolf.
Think, wolf, think.
Oh. I thought it was gonna put up a bit more of a fight. Oh,
Kiva
God,
just sort of
it's-
slowly lifts her veil and just goes, bit overkill that.
I am tired of being spied on.
No, it was good. Just, make sure to save some for him, yeah?
Oh, don't worry. I've got plenty for him.
Lillison raises an eyebrow, looks over to Metreon, looks back to Erethrundir, and just grins a little bit.
Aerith, blissfully unaware of innuendo, as always, keeps moving. Oh yeah, that's a 3 insight. He's got no idea.
All right, well, with that, you make your way up and out of the valley and begin rounding your way on the cliffside road that looks down over Vallaki from above. In the distance, as you make your way along the ridge, the mountains rising to your east, you see coming into view the old windmill up ahead. Up on its promontory, the wind rattling its vanes as it sits quietly, a dark, hunched shape overlooking the slopes below. You pass beyond it, the road passing between a tight mountain pass before emerging into another wood, the dark trees pressing on either side of you as you were reminded of the occasion when you first met Strahd von Zarevich and the direwolves that chased you through this oppressive, dark forest. The blood that was shed, the footprints of that time are long since gone, but the memories and the snarls echo in your minds. And in fact, as you pass through one of the trees, stepping forth, and in the distance, the gates of Ravenloft, the Western Barovian gates, standing tall before you, you think you hear the padding of something in the underbrush behind you. And turning, you see a large direwolf around 200 feet back, just watching silently from its place in the tree line.
One more time for good luck, then.
I'm out of range.
Kiva, with her veil lowered, now that she knows the direction of it again, just sort of waves a little bit.
You gonna keep following us? Because we know you're there.
Noticing that it seems to have been noticed, it regards you for a moment and then slinks back into the woods.
Huh.
I just imagine Strahd, yelling at all these fucking wolves, you're supposed to be sneaking!
Yeah, that wolf rolled a 4. He's doing his best.
He's
I'm
getting a
proud of that.
stern talking to, and no extra kibble tonight.
Oh, poor soul.
Very good. But in any case, moving ahead, the western gates of Ravenloft squeal as, with the rusted hinges, they open at your approach. And passing through, you find yourself at a familiar intersection. Even here, You can see that the mountains, the forest, the fog, all of them are just inescapable. Ahead, you can see that the dirt road splits in two, widening toward the east, where you see patches of cobblestone, the thoroughfare leading to Castle Ravenloft. However, you see something different here, but something ever so familiar. Parked at the fork in the road, pointed east, is a large black carriage drawn by two black horses. The horses snort puffs of steamy breath into the chill mountain air, and as you watch, the side door of the carriage swings open, silently.
Kiva just slips a hand into Irina's and squeezes it gently.
Irina squeezes it back, standing stock still. There is a moment. Nothing seems to emerge from the carriage. It's almost as though the door is inviting to enter.
Let's keep going before he decides to step out, yeah?
I want to know if he's even here.
Kiva just keeps Irina back, and stays back with her, and just, sorts of like, we'll go ahead.
Aerith, averting his eyes, steps gingerly forward until he can have a better view of the inside of the carriage.
Okay. You take a closer look, peering into the interior. The first thing you notice is that it is a sleek vehicle with glass windows and brass lanterns fitting atop it. The interior as well has a dark red velvet seating, so dark as to almost be a faint black of the cushions and seating within. But of Strahd, there is no sign. Merely sufficient space for perhaps a large party to enter.
He steps backward, looking afraid, and rejoins the group. No sign of him.
Is this for us, then?
I have to assume so.
He did say our journey would be lead us to no harm, so maybe he's giving us an escort.
Well, unfortunately for him, I don't think we're taking it today. Shall we keep moving?
Kiva makes sure to adjust the cloak in a very obvious way so that the horses can see it. And then keeps walking with Irina.
Okay. The horses silently watch you go as you leave the intersection and pass down the road toward Castle Ravenloft. And then you turn around a bend in the path beyond a mountain crag, and the carriage vanishes from sight.
Aerith's going to be keeping a careful eye open to when the path turns enough that they'd have a clear view of the castle.
Okay. You travel a mile, 2 miles more, and after winding through the forest and craggy mountain peaks, the road takes a sudden turn to the east, and the startling, awesome presence of Castle Ravenloft towers before you. You come to a stop before twin turrets of stone broken from years of exposure. Beyond these guard towers, you see the precipice of a 50-foot wide, fog-filled chasm that disappears into unknown depths. A lower drawbridge of old, shored-up wooden beams stretches across the chasm between you and the archway to the courtyard. The chains of the drawbridge creak in the wind, their rust-eaten iron straining under the weight. From atop the high walls, stone gargoyles stare at you out of their hollow eye sockets and grin hideously. A rotting wooden portcullis, green with growth, hangs above the entry tunnel. Beyond this location, looking down across the drawbridge to the side beyond, you can see, very faintly through the mist, that the main doors of Ravenloft stand open. A rich, warm light spills from within, flooding the courtyard, and torches flutter sadly in sconces on both sides of the open doors. Overhead, you hadn't even noticed it, when the cloud cover grew dark and rain falls, lightning flashing far above and thunder rumbling in the distance.
It's a shame. I think this place must have been very beautiful once.
It's gorgeous. The architecture, you can tell this was made with a lot of care. Well, let's do what we came here for. Okay.
All right, Arthur dear, you know where we're going, so we'll follow you.
I do. I did have an idea, though. I'd rather not go in, if at all possible. So what I was thinking is, Kaz, Amity, do y'all have polymorph on hand?
I do.
You think you could turn somebody into an eagle so that they could just let Ez be on their back and so they can fly down and clairvoyance into the room from there?
Just for clarification, an eagle is big enough for this, yeah?
A giant eagle.
Yeah, a giant eagle would be
one
large
that
enough.
Kiva was turned into last time, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Any volunteers?
I'm used to it, so, you know, I'd give it a go.
All right, Amity nods and goes up to Kiva and just touches her on her shoulder and casts the spell.
Okay. And as you do, you hear the sounds, the soft whispers of spirits slowly gathering around you, pushing up from the earth, swirling around Kiva's form. Kiva, you feel your eyes begin to burn with a incandescent silvery light, as around you the forms of the spirits take on the shape of wings, below of talons digging into the earth, your form rising up from the air as it's surrounded by this shell of ethereal spirits. On either side, a wing spreads wide, the wingspan easily 10, 12 feet across, if not more. And you feel the mind of the eagle settle in across yours.
Kiva, dutifully in eagle form, waits for Esmeralda to take position, as it were.
Yep, Esmeralda will clamber atop the spiritual eagle. Casimir will clear his throat. I don't mind taking it for myself or sending someone along if they want to, you know, it might be inadvisable to have a single person go when someone could watch their back.
Well, maybe does someone else want to transform as well and carry maybe... Oh, Kiva can't fucking talk. What am I saying?
Nope. But yes, Casimir is happy to transform himself if anyone would like to take his ride as well.
Earth will.
Okay, in that case, Casimir casts a spell on himself, turning into the this kind of you've seen it, the misshapen, kind of bony-looking skeletal raven, climbing onto its back as it spreads its wings wide. And as you do, Esmeralda whispers a few words, touching her eyes with two fingers, and you watch as the sclera and the pupils melt away into a dark, inky black as she casts dark vision on herself.
Earth adds one last... no, never mind, that wouldn't work. It adds one last spell and is going to cast invisibility on himself and Casimir to give them a little more cover.
Okay. The two of you vanish from sight, but as you do, Kiva and Lillison, the two of you notice around a dozen bats scattered across several places of the battlements of Ravenloft, several of them idly looking in your direction.
Lillison sighs deeply.
I don't think we can get them all, and I think it was foolish to believe that we could be unnoticed here. So, I think we just proceed.
Point taken.
Kiva nods and make sure to not look at any of the bats after they've been noticed, but just keeps her eyes trained ahead on where the...
Okay, very good. And so with that, flapping your wings together, Erthrindir's invisibly, or Casimir's invisibly, and I will say Erthrindir, it is incredibly unpleasant and uncomfortable to ride an invisible giant eagle that is also slick with moisture, as like high winds are picking up. Like you can do it. You're not going to be very happy come morning. You're going to be very sore, but that's fine.
He's used to it. That's fine.
So, the two eagles take off, their passengers clutching to their backs, gliding around to the opposite side of the pillar stone. And as they do, you see, passing on the sides of the walls, the great towers rising up above, one with a flat roof, the other a north tower with a high peak rising all the way up, and a very faint reddish glow throbbing from the interior. And then it's gone as you pass, banking off to the side, gliding further around the mountain as you see the place where the stone seems to actually grow from the pillar stone itself. And then to the eastern side, once again, the eagles slow, great wings beating to keep altitude. You can see the dark clouds overhead constantly drizzling, the rumbling of thunder in the distance, and looking down you can see a flagstone avenue passing between empty outbuildings, leading from a stone-paved overlook into what seems to be some sort of garden or enclosure within the keep. You can see a low stone wall of the overlook adorned with gargoyle carvings facing outward. Behind you, there's a deep sea of fog and mist that, would that it were clear, from what you recall of the map, you could perhaps see the woods and the village of Barovia far below, but instead there is only the fog, a sea of churning, thick clouds, whose bottom you cannot make out. And then suddenly a flash of lightning illuminates far below the dismal village itself, its rooftops visible, just faintly, above the smothering blanket of fog, 1,000 feet below you. And then, your eyes adjusting to the darkness. Underneath the stone platform, beneath the overlook, as the eagles slowly descend, you see, about 100 feet down, a stone construction protruding from the cliff face. 3 dirt-caked windows are set into it. Esmeralda shouts into the storm, unsure exactly where to be looking, but doing her best. All right, I'm going to need around 10 minutes for this. I'll tell you what I see. I don't know how many times we'll need to cast this to get a better sense of inside, so just let me know what you want me to look for, all right?
Window thickness, any entrance and exit points, probable enemies, just anything you can get.
You got it. Give me 10 minutes or so, and then a few after that. Keep an eye out. I'm going to need some time to get this working.
Yep.
And so she does, as she begins casting clairvoyance, as she pulls out the focus and begins chanting, forming the hand motions through it. 10 miserable minutes go by, during which time you are soaked to the bone, and Lillison, you see 2 of the bats around 200 feet down go flapping off to another part of the keep to go watch elsewhere, and another 3 bats arrive from somewhere else.
200 feet away, you say?
Yep.
That is entirely too far away. Lillison will scowl from a distance.
My apologies. It's a large castle.
It is a large castle.
Yep. But after 10 minutes of Esmeralda casting the spell, you see a faint glimmer of golden light tinged with black veins from the glass eye-shaped orb she holds in her hands. And then the black of her pupils and sclera illuminates with a faint purplish glow. All right, I can see it. It's a tomb of some kind. This is only barely lit. I can see it better with the spell. There are some coffins in here. Tall ceiling. There's steps leading up to another chamber. Big statues with spears. There's some kind of magical enchantment, I think. A bluish veil of light. I'm not sure what it does.
Does it look like there's a doorway?
No doorway, just stairs leading up to another area. The stairs continue on past the statues and the curtain. I can't see anything beyond that.
All right.
Do you want me to try to recast the spell?
If you could, see what's past there.
All right. And she ends the spell, breaking it off, and will spend another 10 very unpleasant minutes casting clairvoyance again.
It's so cold.
It is terrible. You are shivering. Your teeth are chattering.
Woo!
This is incredibly unpleasant.
Why didn't I say
at least the others can
She's
take some kind of
immune to
shelter.
this.
Wait, does
chose this
Casimir
suffering.
understand Kiva if she's like cawing? Like, do they speak to each other?
Nope. You can get
damn.
across, like, giant eagles are relatively intelligent. Like, it's like about as intelligent as an ogre, I think, if I recall correctly.
Okay, she's gonna
but,
call
like, you can't
out
speak.
that this fucking sucks.
He kind of. You can speak. You both speak giant eagle. Actually, yes. You and Casimir can understand each other. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
She's
So
just
he speaks back in
bitching
giant
at
eagle.
Casimir.
Yes, this is terrible. Let's hope they finish this up quickly. My feathers are freezing off of me, and I didn't know that was possible.
Woo! And you both do understand common, thankfully.
Yes. They just can't speak it.
All we have to do now is have Amity be speaking with animals, and then we have an entire loop of communication.
Fantastic.
Clown to clown communication. Clown to clown conversation.
Love it. All right, so Esmeralda finally finishes casting the second spell, drawing her cloak tight around herself to stay warm. And she says, all right, I put the sensor a little bit past the top of the stairs on the other side of the curtain. It looked like... Okay, you know how Casimir was talking about catacombs? I think we found them. There are tombs here. I can't make out all of the wording on them, but there are large slabs sealing them off. There look to be epitaphs on top of them. Arched ceilings here. It's long corridors. A bit of distance of... Oh my goodness.
What is it?
That is... I thought at first that the ceiling was moving. It's not moving. There must be tens of thousands of bats in here.
Wonderful.
Ew.
Ew.
I think we found where all the bats in Barovia come from. They're all here.
All right. But if it's catacombs, then that's just what we need. That's what Tomb of a Guild member.
I think that might do the trick. I'd have to take a closer look in person to get a better sense of these. But...
Yeah, let's get out of here, please.
All right, and the spell winks out, and she pats Kiva on the back of the neck and says, all right then, good to go when you are.
Kiva immediately flies back. Like,
all right.
Not even waiting for Casimir and Arthur there. She's like, all right, I got to go ahead.
Yep, you are gone. The fuck out of here. Touching down onto the ground on the other side. Back at Ravenloft, where Lillison and the others are clumped, Casimir immediately reaches the form, drawing his cloak around himself, his teeth chattering. Please, do you mind if we can get into some kind of shelter and head out of this storm?
Please. It's
Kiva's
so cold.
Teeth are chattering, and she just looks at Esmeralda, and she's like, when I imagined, what that would be like for the first time with you, wasn't cold, and I wasn't a giant bird. So maybe next time we try it in a nicer, not soaking wet way, yeah?
Esmeralda just tosses her head back and laughs, her long black curls kind of bouncing with moisture and shaking her head as the raindrops run down both of you. I think that would be nice. This was a bit colder than I think we all expected.
Yeah, great. Next time, like a fireplace and wine.
Let's get to Velaki.
Agreed. And with that, you very hurriedly make your ways back down the path away from the castle. Although as you do, Lillison, you can't help but notice the three bats taking wing and vanishing over the misty walls into the depths of the keep.
How far away are they this time?
Oh, by now you're around like 250 feet away.
Okay.
Because like you guys weren't like right up next to the walls. It's pretty distant. I'm sorry.
Lillison will keep this information to herself.
Lillison will remember that. All right. And so, making your way down away from the castle, soon enough the storm recedes, though the drizzle continues. A constant, unpleasant, grayish wetness that forces you to keep your traveler's cloaks pulled up, the hoods over your heads, as you return, slowly making your way back to the old Svalich Road. Passing by the crossroads, you notice the carriage still there, evidently not having moved since you last approached. The horses watch you slightly mournfully and with faint interest as you pass by. But I'm presuming you're not getting into the carriage.
No,
Not
thank
today.
you.
Okay. And in fact, as you head westward, back toward Vallaki, the horses softly whinny, and then the door to the carriage swinging closed, begin trotting off the eastern road back toward Ravenloft. Together, you once more begin on the winding path toward Vallaki, through the old Grovian gates, between the mountain pass, beyond the windmill, and descending down into the valley. By the time you enter into the woods proper, night has very nearly fallen, and you can hear the sounds of the evening mixing with distant howls, the sound of the wind through the trees sounding like the moan and the clacking of bones as the dry bark cracks and splinters and crackles. It's nightfall by the time you reach Vallaki's outer gates, the guard standing there, steadfast and suspicious, looking at you as you approach from the alternate side. One of the guards, holding a spear, holds up a hand and says, "Halt! Wait there. Dusk has arrived, night has fallen. The gates are closed for the night."
Aerith is going to step behind the group for a moment, murmur a spell, and let eagle feathers ripple over himself as he casts Enhance ability, and then steps back to the front, raising his voice. We were delayed, the rain caught us, and we've been it, and we are not any less the people who left 8 hours ago than we are right now. Please, we're freezing, it's cold, and you can hear the howls out there. We're not going to make trouble, just please let us in.
Make a persuasion check with advantage, please.
Yes, sir. $22.
Okay. The guard nods, lowering his pike and turning to his companions. "Unlock the gates, we'll let them in, and then they're closed for the night, understand?" And he turns toward you. "Very well. You may enter, but every second we're keeping those gates open, and a number of things could come in from the woods. So
We'll
pass
move fast,
quickly,
don't
friend."
worry.
Good. And so the gates squeal open, rusty hinges scraping up against one another, and then after you pass through, clang shut once again as the guards hastily chain them shut once more.
And you see a blur as Aerith casts haste on himself and then is just gone towards the blue water end, just like fucking Wile E. Coyote style, his teeth chattering. I am getting inside. Take care.
How long does haste last?
1 minute.
How many feet per round can you move?
240.
Yeah, you'll make it. You will actually make it. You get, actually no, let me scratch that. You will get to the front door of the Blue Water Inn, and then this haste spell drops.
Phenomenal.
Lilith just like stares after the blur that is Earthrendir, and she's just like, "It's not that cold."
It is wet, though.
It is wet, yes.
Well, in any case, Erthrindir, after the unpleasant experience of coming down off of a haste high hits you, you're able to enter, and it is nice and warm and comfy in here, and pleasantly dry. And the rest of you are able to follow up after a few minutes later.
Is there anywhere in here we can light a fire?
Erwin and Danica exchange looks. There must be a place. Yes, they have a roaring fire set in the hearth in the kitchen, and you can dry yourself off and warm your hands there.
Excellent.
And Danica gives you a smile and says, "See, I told you. You would come back safe. Now let me go grab you a blanket."
Please.
And she and Erwin go off to fetch linens. Many linens, as they see the rest of you coming. So, the group of you find yourselves wrapped in layers and layers of blankets just by the fireplace of the kitchen of the Blue Water Inn.
Aerith's teeth chattering, but not managing to have warmed up by now, looks to the others and says, "Well, got some information. At a cost, but we got it."
Well, he is entirely... There is no chance he does not know what we were doing there, but... Will he change his plans in the face of that? I don't know.
I doubt it. He hasn't so far.
I really wished that his last reply would have let me know a little bit more about what his plans are.
Maybe you'll get one tonight.
I very much doubt it.
Fair. But we know something. If we can get past that weird veil of magic, then we're in the catacombs. And that's where we need to be.
Well, you can always dispel magic if we can't find another way, right?
Right. Should be easy enough.
Also, if we're going to be doing more planning and we're worried that someone might be eavesdropping on us, I could help with that just by letting us talk to each other silently. It might be that the game's already up if someone's been eavesdropping on us, though.
No, you can do that.
It is a new spell.
Excellent. Do it. I want to see.
Okay. Everyone who wants to talk quietly, gather around. And Amity began ritual casting a 5th level spell called Rary's Telepathic Bond. And ooh. I guess you know how you can talk to people by like connecting to like solo cups with a string and like talking into that. I'm imagining something similar happening sort of ethereally. Like there's these ethereal wisps that sort of flutter around you that you can like sort of float around your ear and mouth like a walkie-talkie.
So, as you cast the spell, you actually do see those faint strands of ethereal magic, wisps of fog and mist swirling, connecting each of you together, and then they vanish. But the presence that you feel, a faint, familiar consciousness, 7 others, in fact, at the back of your minds. Although I will note that this is only up to 8 creatures, so there are 10 in your party. You'll have to leave 2 out.
All right, then, the main 5 plus Esmeralda, Irina, and heck, Casimir for now. I can always change it out later.
Yeah, we can always
Davian
rotate it.
And Ismark are left out, but you can rotate it later.
That's fine.
Okay. Amity, you can sense that the spell is taken. What would you like to do?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Don't speak right in my ear.
Oh, sorry. Is it?
Wait,
is
that's
it
not
possible?
in my ear. God, that's freaky.
I don't know if this is actually possible. Read this spell, but Amity's gonna try to like PM Lillison, being like, "Can anyone else hear me right now? Is it just you, Lillison?"
Well,
let me check the text of the spell. Targets.
As we reinvent Discord.
I will say that you have literally recreated a telepathic Discord. You can either post in group chat, any subset of group chat, PMs. Congratulations.
All right, we gotta get the. Can we get some bots in here?
Oh no!
Like get some
Can we
ambient
just
music.
download Avray into here?
Yeah.
No recursion.
Yes, recursion.
Just get Strahd's entire stat block. I can hear you. Can anybody else hear us? That sounds like a no.
That sounds
This
like
is
yes.
incredibly weird, and I hate it, but it works.
This is very strange, but I can see how this might come in handy. Having a way to communicate tactics without the vampire spies hearing could be invaluable.
How long does this last again?
It lasts an hour, but I can spam it. It does
that's
take.
Gonna be tactically wonderful then.
So it does take 10 minutes to cast, and I feel like we were planning where I was also going to be taking 10 minutes to cast Detect Magic a bunch in Castle Ravenloft. So there might be times when we sort of pause for ritual casting. Is that okay, or do we want to change the plans up?
This seems fine to me, so long as he isn't disrupting us. But then again, if he's going to be bursting through the walls disrupting us, there's not very much we can do about that.
Yeah, we'll have to plan on the fly. Still, though, this is really cool.
And you're
Thanks,
not, sorry, and you're not hearing, everybody's ambient thoughts, right?
I'm not. Although, I guess we do have to get used to crosstalk, since we can't see each other's mouths moving. We might accidentally talk over each other some.
Well, something tells me if we give it like a year or so, we might be able to figure it out just by context clues and like knowing the way we all speak to each other.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, definitely.
Was that a little bit too meta of a?
No, that's
joke?
it's
Okay.
like the second to last episode. Before
Okay,
things get
I
set.
feel like
can have
we've
fun
got
with
to go full circle.
yeah. Like no, I do feel like I know y'all's cues now, and I'm glad y'all can't hear my ambient thoughts. That would have been real embarrassing to hold back.
Well, you know, if someone's interested in ambient thoughts, and she just like gives a look at Esmeralda.
Do not do that over the open line, madame.
There's not, I'm not saying anything. Literally, my lips are shut, so it's a moot point.
Do your telepathic bonding in private. Anyway.
Casimir's voice, his drawl chips in. Well, I confess, somewhat horrified to learn some of the other unorthodox applications of this spell. But beyond that, if we have it up, I suppose we might as well use it for something. Do we have anything in mind for how we want to approach tomorrow?
Do we want to go while it's still daylight?
Well, I would think yes, right? I mean, I know there's not a lot of sun, but any advantage we have would probably help us.
We might could catch him while he's sleeping.
But I think the plan is to try to win the war of attrition, right? I mean, if he's one of those duck and go type people that is always going to retreat, we just have to make sure, A, that we either catch him and hold him, or B, that we keep a familiar enough location that he doesn't have that many places to go far, if that makes sense.
It does. What I'm thinking too is that it's also going to be a game of resources. Most of us are spellcasters, and what he's going to want us to do is think that we've got him cornered and blow everything we've got in one big burst so he can just chip away at us. Which means we've got to be conscientious about our spells. Never spend one unless we need to. Which means if we're run to things other than Strahd, tomorrow's probably going to be a battle of cantrips.
Also remember that a few times, I can at least give people back smaller spell slots. So
That'll
that's
be a
something
godsend.
to keep in mind as well.
Do you know how small those spell slots are? Because last time it was a pretty big one.
Up to 3rd level, but it's sort of random. I don't really have control over it.
So we can't plan around it, but that's a good ace in the hole.
But you can at least get something back.
Yeah. As far as the attrition game goes, I've scribed a spell that'll let us rest safely, hopefully, but it only fits 8 people. So anybody who's not inside it is going to need a way to stay hidden while we take a break. Now that could be simple as just casting invisibility or finding a corner to squirrel away in, but I wanted to give y'all some warning.
Lillison nods slowly and then looks around. It is really too bad that Jack is not here, because I assume that Metreon would have some thoughts about short rests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metreon happily pipes up and says, "Well, look, I can speak for the rest of you, but anytime that we get a chance to take a bit of a cat nap." That's Australian. That's the wrong accent. Metreon conveys his desire for short rests.
Bit of a catnip.
I don't know. I like Australian Metreon.
Ever since I started playing an Australian player character, I just can't do Cockney anymore. It's
Listen,
terrible.
Australian
Anyways.
Metreon's kind of hot.
Metreon prefers short rests if available.
Yeah, but that does mean the other 2 or 3 folks that are stuck outside are going to need to fend for themselves.
Well, the good news is, I take, a shorter rest anyway, so maybe I could... Is it something that, like, someone could slip out and someone else could slip in, sort of deal? Or
Nah, it only lasts an hour.
All right, well, it's good to know, to keep in mind. Maybe people who don't have magical inclinations and would maybe need those short rests, and she just sort of looks over at Ismark with, like, a grin. Wouldn't mind sitting outside.
And another thing is, the space that spell creates could be an ambush point, because it's invisible if we want it to be. So if we can plan around it, then there's a possibility we could literally drop out of thin air on Strahd.
Only if he was good enough to keep standing under it, yes?
True. We need to put it at a choke point.
We just distract him with, like, a finger puppet show or something.
Another thing I just remembered. This hasn't really been relevant for a very long time, but while we're in there, I think it might be prudent for... And then she just, like, conjures up her skeletal mage hand. For us to test where we might be going before we actually step anywhere.
Agreed.
Incredibly wise, because for the most part, while I'm in there, I'm only going to be able to see about 10 feet in front of me, so leading the charge should definitely be Mage Hand, or... Where the hell did Muppet get off to?
Oh, right.
Did we leave him at the temple?
We might have left him sort of here, so I hope nothing bad happened.
Did you leave him at the Blue Water Inn?
Where did you leave him, Dragon? Because
I'm asking you because if you left him here and you didn't renew the spell this morning, did you renew the spell this morning?
No. I made a note to myself to remember to off Muppet, but I didn't remember to do it at the start of the episode. So I will say that
if you would like to have retroactively, you could have killed Muppet. Do you want Muppet to be around or not?
I think retroactively, if that's available, then Amity would have given Muppet the command to just sort of walk into Lake Zarevich.
Okay.
No.
That's perfectly reasonable.
We have Zambahadin, right? Like, is that the plan still, or no?
We have Rahadin's corpse.
Amazing. Okay.
Wait, did we just, like, completely freak out the gate guards again by having another, like, corpse walk out of the gate?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
It is our job.
We wrapped him in a carpet. It's fine.
We are so bad for the mental health of these poor guys.
But we are showering them in money, so it all evens out.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I will say that you disposed of Muppet, and he is no longer present.
R.I.P. to a real
Good.
one.
True.
Pour one out for our fallen Muppet.
Disposed of off screen. That's harsh.
Hey, he's in the lake now. He can horrify some children.
Yep.
The next Vistani child that gets thrown into the lake.
We should
Wait,
probably
different
get
lake,
back on
right?
track.
At this point, you hear a gruff voice coughing, and you see David kind of hold up a hand. Right, so I don't think I can hear anything that's going on in there. You've all just been looking at each other with strange looks for the past 10 minutes. But if you don't mind, and he kind of jerks a thumb over his shoulder, I just checked with the others, and if you're all nice and warm and dried off, you might want to move things up to the attic. There's something I'd like to show you, and it might be a little bit more secure to discuss up there.
By all means.
Kiva's just muttering, please be another sun sword, please be another sun sword, please be another sun sword.
So, following Davian out of the kitchen and sadly away from the nice roaring fire, you ascend these stairs to the second floor and then pulling open the trapdoor, climbing up to the attic and pulling it up after you and closing the trapdoor behind. As you stand there, the space illuminated faintly by the light of the sun sword, Davian turns toward the rest of you and says, right, so I presume that you've all got your little strategies and tactics in there. I'm not a fucking general or nothing. I tend to deal in information, so I know how useful it can be to have the information you need. So I figured there's something that I might as well share with you that maybe will factor into your calculations.
We would be very happy to hear it.
He gives a small grin and with a nod toward you, Lois, and says, well, it's not so much as a hear as so much as a show. One moment, please. And he takes in a deep breath and holds out his arms on either side, letting the blanket over his shoulders fall away, leaving only the green cloak covering him. And slowly, as you watch, his form begins to change. His skin darkening as slowly the hairs protruding his beard, pushing outward into tufts of black down and feathers. You watch as the shape of his face begins to change, his feet slowly lengthening, twisting as he pulls them from his boots, planting long black claws with talons wickedly sharp on the edges, curling into the wooden floor of the attic. His face lengthening ever so slightly, his nose and mouth fusing together as you watch, pushing forward from his face, a long, dark beak. As old, ragged, black and in places silver-gray feathers extrude from his body, Davian slowly lowers the wings of his form and regards each of you. All right, then. So that's out.
Lillison is nodding slowly as if she's expecting this, and also is like unconsciously touching her abdomen.
So wait a minute. Then, if you're not the one that was fighting with me and Metreon, who is that?
That was a friend. We've got a number of other folks in different cells throughout Barovia, keeping an eye out, watching for any outsiders that might venture in, might find themselves in trouble. From what I've heard, you since you did our family a bit of a solid. My son and daughter-in-law saw fit to send one of their associates to keep an eye on you.
It's about time you started helping us out, old man.
I feel like I've skipped a few steps. What?
Right, so let me start at the beginning. The Keepers of the Feather. It ain't exactly a symbolic name.
You can transform into were creatures.
Were-ravens, aye. We can't tell exactly who started it. There's a bit of a history going back, and there's a bit of supposition, but nothing for sure. All we know is that way back, one of my great-great-granddads or grandmums came infected with it. It's been passed down the line ever since, and carefully. spread to some others. That's how the Keepers came to be.
Oh, no wonder you have such a good spy network. Like, you have some on the scale of Strahd's, except better, because your spies are intelligent. And presumably immune to things that aren't silver. That's insane. Whew,
He nods.
okay.
So you know, I can shrink myself down to a wee little raven, or I can fly like this, or I can be the old man you've seen. I can't hold a crossbow as well as I'd like to in this form, but I can manage. Same with a short sword. I will say that I can't do much against vampires. The drinking the blood thing gives me the heebie-jeebies, but if you need someone to stand in the way of a few arrows or swords, it hurts like a motherfucker for a bit, but the wounds heal up right quick.
Yeah, we could definitely use someone who physically cannot be hurt by... Yeah, no, that will... Aerith looks like he has, like, 15 new additions to make to the battle plan. Thank you.
And, of course, something else that I might want to mention.
Go ahead.
And you hear as he opens his beak, in a very familiar voice, "Go ahead?"
Oh, no. Oh, it's bad enough when Metreon does it.
It ain't a perfect mimic, but ravens are clever birds. You do what you can.
I don't know how we can use that, but we almost certainly can. Thank you.
He opens his beak again, and you hear the sound of what you could swear sounds like a floorboard creaking. And closes it again.
All right, Mr. Mardukov. Man of many talents.
I try. But in any case, figured that might be best to let things out in the open.
Well, thank you for trusting us with it.
Well,
Nerf's
I trust
going
that
to-
you'll keep things secure. I doubt
Yep.
that any of y'all would willingly go spreading things to the big man in the castle at this point, so I figured if we're going in together, might as well make sure that we're going in together, eh?
And as quietly as he can, Earthrendir is going to creep to the outside window and peek outside.
Make a perception check.
12.
You see in the distance, perhaps 2 rooftops away, a shadowy, hunched silhouette standing atop a rooftop watching you from afar. It doesn't seem to have a line of sight into the inn. But
How
it's certainly
large?
watching. Around the size of the humanoidish shape you've seen watching the inn a few times in the past.
Vampire spawn. Aerith just kind of looks back. We got a vamp spawn watching us. Shall I blast it?
Are we sure it is one of them and not? And she looks over at Davian. You don't have more of the keepers watching in these forms, do you?
He shakes his head. Nay, though, we got a few upstairs, and he juts a finger kind of roughly up toward the roof. If you ever seen any ravens keeping an eye out for the roof, that's our people. But never this openly.
She nods over towards Earthrendir. Go ahead, then.
Second level magic missile. Enough to leave an impression.
Okay. Roll it.
20 force damage.
20 force damage. You watch as the glowing darts streak through the air and smash into either side of the creature. You hear a faint shriek of anger that cuts through the night, and then abruptly you watch as the form quickly recedes, scampering down, almost spider-like on all fours down the other side of the rooftop before vanishing from sight altogether.
I see why wizards like this spell so much. This is convenient. And it's gone. At least for now.
Well, we'll see if the gate guards actually earn their keep or not.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Hopefully it just leaves, climbs over the wall. We can't afford to worry about it, though. We need our rest tonight.
Yes, it's Baroness Fogder's problem to take care of.
I like the sound of that. Well then. About what time of day is it, Bitten?
I'd say it's early night. Probably approaching dinner time, if not a little bit after it. Certainly
Well
after
then.
dusk.
Should we make the most of our last evening then?
I don't know if I like the way you say that. It sounds so final.
Well, you know,
we
look,
might
we
die
can
tomorrow.
we can still have fun, I think. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying we go and start writing our wills, but, you know, we might not all come back. I want to be sure I savor the time I have with you.
Besides, something tells me that guy's not really a fair sport, so we might not get a chance to have a good meal in there, or a good rest, or a good anything.
True. Though we are going to have a very good breakfast tomorrow, and Aerith pulls out the bottle of champagne to a stomp.
I'd almost forgotten about that.
Hero's Feast.
The banquet grand or whatever. That's still going to be tomorrow morning, right?
Last 24 hours, I think that'd be prudent. I might need you to cast it though, Amdy. I think you've got a better handle on this sort of thing than me.
Well, hopefully I succeed.
Also, you're just a better cook, let's be real.
Arguable, but I will not argue.
I will. You're pretty great. But I'll stop with that. Let's go get some food.
Before we eat, Lillison looks over to Ismark.
Ismark meets your eyes.
Would you be willing to go for one more weapons practice before dinner?
He gives you a nod. Of course. It would be my pleasure.
She smiles.
Kiva would also join because she wants to practice a little bit more of the blind fighting.
Okay, that's eminently doable. The three of you can make your way downstairs and enjoy some sparring practice.
Yeah.
And as you do, the rest are able to descend Davian, assuming his human form once again, the feathers vanishing. And so you're able to enjoy your evening meal, making your way downstairs, joining the Mardukubs as the tables are laid out once more. The warmth and, for some time, some blessed time, you're able to enjoy a sense of peace and lose yourselves in the sense of comfort and family, however short that might be. So, is there anything that anyone would like to do during dinner? The 8 to 10 of you have your kind of own spot off to the side, but the rest of the Mardukubs are mostly at their own table.
Once Aerith's finished his plate, he sort of toys with his water glass, looking half maudlin, half curious, and says, "You know, I've asked y'all this a bit before, but not... I think all of us were sure we were going to die. But I'd like to know, what do y'all... If we win, what happens next? What do y'all think you're going to do? Or be, I guess. Because I know that I think I'm a very different person now than the scared elf who walked in here 3 weeks ago."
It's hard to say for sure. I know that I'm going to want to travel to a bunch of different places. I mean, we might have to work this out together, F and D.
Where are you looking to go?
I don't even have specific places in mind. I just, even though I was living in basically one town my whole life before this, just being trapped here makes me want to go more places. Maybe the ocean, or like a volcano.
I think you'd be a lot more comfortable in the second one than I would. That sounds very hot.
I don't mean like taking a bath in the volcano. But yeah.
You're looking to travel then, to take some time, see the world?
Maybe become like a traveling seancer.
You're planning to keep doing that then?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I can use this to let people sort of see their loved ones one more time, then that might be really valuable, as long as it's not too sort of soul-crushing on my end.
Aerith swallows, his face going a bit pale. Then, when you get out of here, would you mind if I was your first client? There's someone I'd like to see.
When we get out of here, do you think we're going to be sort of geographically where we were, like near Coneyberry? Because if the only reason I'm saying that is because I might, if we're close to where my home is, try to be my own first client. But you're next in line.
No, of course.
You're next
in line. No, I'd like you to be able to see her, and if I'd like to meet her too, honestly, if that's okay.
Of course it's okay. And I mean, after this, this sounds like something I would have never said before, but I might be up for a little more adventure. I mean, not on this scale, not on the type where there's like a big chance where you're gonna, not make it back out. But just fun.
Yeah.
Something like this can be fun.
That's really cool. And if you do end up deciding to travel, then, well, you'd have a happy companion on the road if you still want.
Amy smiles and like pats him.
Aw. He sort of melts into the contact before looking over at Lillison.
Lillison's just like smiling at both of them. And then she glances over to Kiva and says,
I assume that you're going to be going back to your cottage right away.
If I still have this gift when I leave, yeah. I'll be returning home and hoping that she wants to come back. And I think I'm going to take her with me and go and try to find my grandmother.
In the Feywild?
Yeah, I only have a first name, but it shouldn't be that hard, right?
Nah. No, there's some folks I know if you need a tuning fork or something.
Might actually be helpful. I don't really know how to get there on my own, but
fortunately, money can buy you many things.
Esmeralda looks thoughtful for a moment. You know, there's someone that I encountered once. Her carnival, she was a ringmaster of a carnival. She spoke highly of another one that she used to own that she had traded with two refined gentlemen a number of years ago. It is said that they have some sort of connection to the Feywild. If we are able to locate it, perhaps we might be able to find a way in together.
You'd come with me?
Well, she looks thoughtful. I think it would depend on a number of things. I would like to ensure that the valley is as free of the evils that have infested it as possible. And if I cannot go with you immediately, perhaps I can catch up later. If nothing else, I could connect you to some that I know and give you directions of where the carnival is known to be found.
Kiva just grins at her and then nods and just puts her hand on top of hers. Doesn't say anything else. What about you, Lillison?
I don't know. I don't think I'm going home right away, or perhaps anytime soon. I also don't know if I really want to continue on to where I was going to go and learn wizardry. Because...
Yeah.
Well...
Because?
I had this thought that learning more about my magic would give me an idea of whether to suppress it or express it. But having to use it so much here has given me... I don't want to become dependent on it, and I don't want it to be what the entire central struggle of my life is.
Yeah. That's really wise, I think.
But it doesn't give me much of an idea of what I actually do want to do with the rest of my life, however long it might last. I think for that I need to see more of what there is out there.
Sounds like a common theme. I hope you get that. I think there's a lot of world out there, and I think a lot of it could use a Lillison. Or rather, that a lot of it has a lot to give to a Lillison, hopefully.
Lillison just sort of shrugs. And she looks over at Ismark and Irina.
Ismark coughs. Well, I think that what I would like to do is... Well, I have left our people without someone to look after them for quite a while. I know that our village is not a happy place at the best of times, but perhaps when the fog is lifted and the nightmare passes, the village of Barovia will have a brighter future again. I have left my father's seat open for long enough, perhaps. With some grace, it will still be waiting for me when I get back, and I can help them put the pieces back together. We haven't known for centuries of what that might look like, but I think that perhaps I would like to help them figure it out.
You don't want to leave?
This is my home, my people. It is all I have ever known, and I owe it to them. That is what being Burgomaster is. They are my people and I am theirs, and it is my duty, it is my honor to ensure that they are safe, that they are clothed and fed and well protected. Killing Strahd will not bring an end to the evils of the world. It is a good start, yes, but there will always be more work for hands and a blade. And, well, the reason why I decided to take up arms against the devil in the first place was for them. So, and he kind of touches the blade at his side, looking a bit wistful. I think that I would like to go back home and see what it could become. If nothing else, I would like to see what the church looks like in the sunlight.
Your parents would be very proud of you, both of you, for how brave and kind you've been, despite everything you've been through. And I'm sure, Ismark, that you will treat the people incredibly well and do an excellent job.
Thank you. It means a lot. Truth be told, I did not know that day when we met you and took you home that we would find ourselves here on this night and prepared to meet whatever the next day may bring. But I'm grateful to have found you that one day in Blood and the Vine Tavern. And I'm glad that you agreed to come home with us. So thank you. Without you, none of this would have been possible.
Thank you. I don't think we would have gotten this far without you.
Kiva sort of wipes her eye. It just goes, okay, old bastard, what about you? What are you doing?
Davian snorts. Right, well, apparently I got another fucking oldest son again. So I gotta take the time to figure that shit out.
Oh, you, finally spoke with him, did you?
I don't know if I was more of the fool to finally take the plunger to do it in the first place, but whatever the case, I can't say we've patched things up, but at the very least, we're able to have a civil conversation. So, I gotta say, I'm curious to see where that goes. If nothing else, it'll be nice getting to know his wife again and getting to meet the kids. I know that we've been together for a little while, but I feel like I've been holding myself up for a while. Haven't really got a chance to know my family, so let's hope that there's a nice quiet retirement ahead, eh?
And are you going to be rebuilding the winery as well?
Oh, I don't fucking know. We got the gem, so I mean, anywhere we can bury it, we'll get some good grapes. Who fucking knows? I reckon that if we can, maybe once the bastard in the castle's gone, we can knock out some ground. Maybe we can take over the place again. From what I know, there might be something lurking there we might need to clear out, but I reckon that we can give it the stab. Might take some time, might take some years. But you know what? If the devil's gone, then, well, I might live forever, but I got some time left in these old bones.
Lillison's smile is blossoming into something close to a grin, but it sort of subdues as she looks over to Casimir.
Casimir sighs. I confess I haven't really thought that far ahead. I've been lingering in thoughts of what I might do next or what I might say to her when I bring her back. All I can say is that I don't know if my people will linger here, if we'll decide to stay when the mists lift. I don't know if my sister and I will stay to them. I don't know if I'll stay with my sister or if she with me, but nonetheless, a future's a future. And even a path that you don't know which fork you're going to take is better than having no options at all, so I'm curious to see what may come.
Aerith looks thoughtful for a moment, and he looks over at Casimir and says, of course, this is your home, and I'd make no presumptions. But if the Dusk Elves want, know that there's more than one other community who's been through what they've been through, and would welcome them into the sunlight with open arms.
He looks thoughtful for a moment and then nods, saying, I reckon I might at least be inclined to share the offer. Thank you.
You're welcome. We need to meet some new people anyway. We've been sitting in despair for too long. It's very easy to do when you're immortal.
It's a familiar feeling. You don't have quite an eternity, but, well, souls remember.
They do.
And a few hundred years ain't, well,
pocket
memories
change.
tend to linger.
And 100 years from now, I'll be looking around, I'll be remembering this table, and almost everyone here will be dead.
Well, that was grim.
Irina
I'm sorry.
chuckles and takes another sip of her non-wine. I presume you're drinking some kind of tea.
Yeah. Aerith looks embarrassed.
Just vodka.
Well, I mean,
they can make potatoes. There's right or potatoes. There's vodka.
Yeah.
If we're going down that route, well, in about 2 days, I will be thinking back on this time, and possibly some of us will be dead.
Oh,
all right.
Means.
Enough talk about death. Irina, my dear, please bring some light back to the conversation. What are you planning to do?
Well, truth be told, I don't really know. It's hard to know what you're looking for. I know that there are things that I want to find out that I've mentioned that we've seen together. I know that there is a man or a prince I once knew of the name Sergei. I know that there's a life or lives that I once lived, and I want to know more about who I was, who he is, and who we could be. Like, there's something that I've been missing that I've been wanting to find. And she kind of looks abashed for a second and kind of glances down, and then Ismark puts a hand on her shoulder. Look, wherever you decide to go, I will support you, okay? If this means that much to you, then I'm not going to stop you from chasing after it. And she looks up at him and nods and suddenly just lashes around him, just hugging him and holding him tight, squeezing him so hard as though she's afraid that he'll vanish. And you see her eyes kind of tighten, moisture at the tips of her eyelids, and she murmurs almost like a whisper, "Even if it takes me beyond Barovia, even if it takes me where you can't find me, I'll come back to visit, I promise. I need to know." And he hugs her hard back, holding her tightly, and says quietly, "And I know you'll find what you're looking for. I know you will." And she finally just sits back in her chair and says, "Well then, I guess that's what I'll try to do, wherever it may take me."
I love you guys. Just wanted to say it.
Irina laughs a little bit awkwardly, her cheeks coloring a bit. "Well, don't let me keep bringing in but then do we have any we don't have any more wine.
We're allowed to be a little maudlin. It's a mercy.
Well, we've got one more night, and then tomorrow a Queen's Feast, I am told, and then the road back.
Do it.
I'm not riding in that fucking carriage, though.
Oh God!
You can't
no.
make me. I won't do it.
I'm planning. If I had the spells, I'd blow it up.
I want to ride in the carriage.
Well,
you know what? We'll walk alongside.
Just don't blow it up before I get out, okay?
No, I've had my share of watching you get blown up for one forever.
I would also volunteer to ride in the carriage. If for no other reason than because I've been walking 8 hours a day beside a wagon for the last week.
Now that you mention it, my legs are killing me.
Is there enough room that I could sit up with the horses so I don't have to be inside of it, or?
There is, let me just double check. I believe, yes, there is in fact space for you to sit up front where a driver, what do they call it for a horse-drawn carriage?
A horse-drawn carriager.
Sure.
I think it's a driver.
Sure, where the driver
It's a
can
driver,
sit.
yeah.
So yes, you and another person could probably sit up there if you'd like. There don't appear to be
Amazing.
reins, so the horses are going to do whatever the hell they want.
That's fine. That's fine. Kiva just doesn't want to be inside of the coffin box carriage.
Understandable.
Not even, for the aesthetic corpse bride.
No, she'll ride on the front with her legs crossed, wearing Rahadin's cloak and her veil down.
Yeah.
Perfect.
In any case, then, the conversation slowly winds down as the food and drink vanishes from the table, the candlelight burning down lower as the evening progresses, the darkness of the night enshrouding the inn and the moon rising high over the clouded sky of Alaki. Is there anything more that you would like to do before turning in for the evening?
This time, Kiva will, probably before bed, just make her way over to Danica and Erwin and say goodbye to them. For real this time. Because I assume we're just going to sort of eat and go early in the morning. And she'll say goodbye to the boys and all that. Man, this music is making me feel a lot of things.
As you make your way toward Danica and Erwin, the two of them look at you together and then just sees you in a hug. And Danica says quietly, I think we're both well aware that you're probably at least a decade or two older than us, but let me just say that it has been a pleasure having all of you here like members of the family.
We're so lucky to have found you and to have people to keep us safe and people that we can keep safe, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that it stays that way. So you just keep doing you and helping people. Something tells me we won't be the last travelers to come to Barovia. So they're going to need you.
Erwin shakes his head, but then pauses, nodding and taking a step back and planting both hands on your shoulders, smiles and says, I think I've told you before that as long as there's a light on and a window of the Blue Water Inn, there will always be a safe and warm hearth for weary travelers to lay down their feet and rest themselves. So, I'm glad that we've been able to share that with you, and from the looks of it, you've taken a bit of that light and warmth out the front door to the world beyond, so we'll be here. And I imagine you will be too.
Kiva just gives them both a hug and then goes upstairs, and I'm going to be quiet for a little bit so I can cry.
Oh.
Aerith is going to try and find where Victor's been hiding away this whole time.
Victor is currently sitting in the kitchen, just kind of engrossed in his own spell book, eating a small bowl of stew that seems to have gone cold a while ago. He's kind of holding it in one hand, but not really paying attention to it, and reading and rereading some of his notes.
Aww.
It's half full, and it's probably gone cold 20 minutes ago.
Aerith settles down next to him. You can always reheat that on the fire if you want.
Oh, yes, I glances down at the bowl. Yes, I suppose I could. He just kind of blinks at you, looking vaguely confused.
Sorry, just was asking. How's your day been?
It has been amenable. I've largely been able to sequester myself and have a relatively comfortable place to review some of the equations and formulae. Backup
What you looking
plans
over?
and such. Well,
in case we don't come back.
Well, I would hope that you succeed at what you're doing, but
no,
I'm sure you know that a good wizard must have a backup plan, and at least
a good wizard must have 3.
Yes, precisely, exactly. That's what I meant. So merely being practical and thorough. Got to make sure that I've checked all of the possibilities.
Yeah, Well, I wish you the best with your backup plans. I was just going to let you know that I might not have time to see you tomorrow if you sleep in, so I think this is goodbye.
Oh, well, I suppose it is. Kind of looks there faintly awkward for a moment, and then, not quite meeting your eyes, but like looking across your shoulder toward the darkness behind the window, says quietly, I suppose it's rather worth saying that I do hope you don't die tomorrow.
That's high praise. Thank you. And if I do, I just wanted to say I'm really glad to have gotten the chance to know you. You're a strange man, don't get me wrong, but so am I. And you are smart and so curious. And I know that in a world with sun, there's use for that. There are people out there who are like you, who I think you'd really enjoy getting to know.
He looks a bit awkward at the praise and then thoughtful afterwards. Do you suppose I might be able to meet them?
I certainly think I can make some introductions.
Good, then that's what we'll do when you come back. When you don't die.
Yes. Hope you don't mind university life too much, though. It's a bit crazy.
I've never been to a university. What?
Oh, you're gonna have fun. Alright, I have some additional people to introduce you then, to get some social life rolling. And we'll have enough money that I can probably put a down payment on some... We'll work it out.
If anyone would appear into the room at this moment, they would look, they would see Victor looking, like, abruptly very eyes wide, panicked, as though, like, full deer in the headlights, as Earthrendir happily discusses the wonders of college campus life.
Yes. Too much information.
Lillison is peeking in just at this moment. And,
the second you said social life, he just blanked out. You have terrified this poor boy.
And the parties are wonderful. You got to make sure you have a good group of people and make sure, but you know.
Wait. There were parties involved. I did not know this when my parents signed me up for this.
I mean, there don't have to be. You can always sit in your room and be a nerd, but, you know, you can also indulge in that and blow off some steam, meet some cute boys or girls. I don't know your preferences. Or nobody. Follow your heart.
Lillison exchanges a look of horror with Victor.
Victor happily returns it.
That's not all there is. There's drinking and games which facilitate drinking.
What's your passive insight modifier?
13.
Yeah, you can tell that you're not making this better.
But there's also books, libraries of very powerful wizards and magicians who are happy to take on curious young people and
okay, Victor's back on board.
I'll tell you all about it, but when we're back. I think I don't want to scare you off.
I think that would be a good discussion to have. Thank you.
Take care, Mr. Volokovich.
Yes, I think I shall. And he kind of sits back down rather mechanically and tries to put his nose back into his book.
What were you saying, Lillison?
I'm just going to keep going this way, then.
Oh, you want to hear more about university life?
No.
I've got plenty of stories. All right. I guess Earthrendir is going to bed.
Where's Lillison headed? Anything of note?
Lillison is actually headed outside the inn. She is going to hang out outside and see if anybody shows up.
For sparring purposes or for spy purposes?
For spy purposes.
Okay. A bit of time passes, but eventually you do in fact see a small bat just flutter in and hang upside down the eaves of a nearby home, just the edge of an alleyway.
Lillison extends an arm out invitingly.
The bat flutters down kind of clinging to one of your fingers and hanging upside down there.
This
Its little
is so
claws wrapping
adorable.
around. Oh, it is. It's very cute.
Can this be our pet bat?
Lillison looks very torn for a moment as she pulls out another sealed envelope, hesitates, and then offers it to the bat.
The bat happily takes it, gingerly in its little mouth between its fangs, and then spreads its leathery wings wide and flaps off, vanishing into the misty darkness of the night.
Lillison sighs deeply. Glances around to see if there's anything to see.
Make a perception check.
20.
Looking around, nothing immediately of note. Seems to be a relatively quiet evening in Vallaki.
She nods and says to nobody in particular, "Well, I hope that one spawn is off to torment somebody else for the night." And turns to go back inside, hoping that for once they'll get like an actual long rest in this inn. Not just
Very
like
good.
Strahd crashing the place at like 2 a.m.
No. Anything else that anyone would like to do?
There's something that'll happen during the night, but not during the evening.
Okay. Anything from Amity, or are you tucking in as well?
Amity will get all her stuff ready for an early morning, and then tuck in.
Okay. And so with that, as the group of you turns in for a long rest, the night and the moon high outside the walls and windows of the inn, preparing yourselves for the day and battle to come, you begin your long rest. And Erthrindir, what did you want to do before trancing?
Well, it's more this is how it happens. It's quiet for a long few hours, but an Aerith is rolling back and forth, trying his best to get himself to slip into meditation, but his fingernails are digging into his arm as he just stares up at the ceiling blankly. And he like buries his face in a pillow. And then sort of looks over to where Amity is sleeping. And very slowly and blearily sits up and taps her gently on the shoulder.
Amity groggily wakes up. Truffle? Yeah? Is something wrong?
Aerith, and even in the light of dark vision, you can tell that Aerith looks embarrassed. No, there's no danger, don't worry. I just, I can't sleep. I just keep thinking about that I or one of us might not come back tomorrow. That this might be the last night I get to spend. I keep trying to sleep, to put it out of my head, but I just can't stop thinking about it.
I can tell you that this won't be the last night. I don't know if it helps just to say that, though.
I don't know. I just didn't want to deal with it alone. There's a long moment. And then he the corner of his mouth twitches. Actually, would you mind maybe telling me a story or something like that? I mean, you don't have to, but like, I feel safe when you're talking to me, and I always love to. I just can close my eyes and feel like I'm home.
Of course, I'll tell you a story.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything.
Yeah, no, I don't care. You're a good storyteller. Anything that you want to is fine with me. Thanks.
I don't know how your trance works. If it gets you into a trance, will that be enough, or?
Yeah, that'll be enough.
All right. Well, then I'm going to tell you a long story, a very long story, and at some point you'll fall into a trance, and we'll call that part 1, okay? And if you're ever having trouble trancing again, then I'll give you part 2.
Oh, by all means. Just don't let me keep you up. You need your sleep more than I do.
Well, don't worry. Just for now, just focus on the story.
Of course,
and
I'm excited.
This isn't an allegory. Don't try to match the characters to us or learn a lesson from it.
All right.
It's just a fun story about some rabbits on a farm.
Very nice.
Once upon a time, a young rabbit with a very fluffy tail lived in a warren. Do you have a name for him?
Let's call him Albert. I've always liked Alberts.
I like it. All right, Albert was the runt of his litter. He was slower than the other rabbits, but what he lost in speed, he made up for in cleverness. He had a keen eye for noticing patterns. And when the colony was gathering lettuce from the fields, Albert knew just when the big roaring beast would run across the farm, putting out all the smoke and cutting down the corn, removing the hiding spots. I guess do tractors exist in medieval times? I'm going to say yes. The other rabbits, they didn't always believe Albert's warnings. But his closest friend, Chestnut, knew that Albert was special. And Amity will continue telling this long story that is her version of my own IRL favorite book, Watership Down. Until Airthrindir falls into a smooth trance.
And about 30 minutes in, you watch as the worry leaves his eyes and his head slumps into Amity's lap, looking, for once, very peaceful.
Amity smiles and just sort of carefully lays down in such a way to hopefully not disturb him. And gets to sleep herself.
And get to sleep you do, as each of you passes a peaceful, uneventful night's rest, awakening the following morning. As the final day arises, there is a harsh rain outside. You can hear distant thunder rumbling, the moisture streaming down the shutters and walls and windows. Inside, the inn, of course, is still warm and dry, but out there you can tell that a storm has come to Barovia.
Airthrindir sleeps longer than normal, safe as he feels. But when the rumbling wakes him up, he starts getting ready.
Couldn't have picked a worse omen for a day like today.
I don't know. Storms are ominous, sure, but they also bring change. So maybe the storm isn't him. Maybe it's us.
I like that. She sort of pats him on the shoulder before slinging her backpack over her arms and heading downstairs.
Well, all I know is that 5 minutes after we walk outside, all of you are going to start complaining about how cold and wet it is again.
True. This time we can be complaining telepathically.
Lovely, lovely.
Hey, better brush up on your mental defenses, Lillison.
You know, when I was in the form of that giant beast, and I felt that suggestion take hold of my mind, it was honestly a bit fascinating to examine from the inside.
How so?
There was, thinking back over it, in retrospect, there was perhaps a seam between what I could identify as my thoughts and what I could identify as the intrusion, but perhaps that's just my imagination because I'm looking for one. Really makes me wonder what the experience other people have is when I use it.
It's like looking at yourself from outside. You know what's happening, you know your body, but you just can't do what you normally do. You're just frozen while the suggestion takes hold.
She blinks a couple times.
That's fascinating.
It is.
Not at all my experience, although because I was already not really myself,
No.
there's probably a compounding effect.
And it's probably different per caster too, whether you're trying to be gentle or just exerting your will. But for now, I'm very happy that we have the Lillison that is circumscribed by yourself. Oh, that was cheesy even for me.
She gives him a wry grin.
Fair enough. Now, let's see if we can't get that. Let's see if we can't get that meal working.
Speaking of cheesy, Amity comes down with a scroll. I am hoping for some cheese, maybe lamb and yoga sauce, but also I didn't make this scroll, so I don't know how it works.
Oh, I would love some good cheese, some spiced goat meat. Let me lay on the usual buffs as Aerith rapid fire casts enhance ability and bardic inspiration.
You're using enhance ability now.
I think I'm making sure that I'm spending a 2nd level spell to make sure our 6th level spell goes off without a hitch.
That is a very fair point. All right, so Amity is gonna cast Heroes' Feast.
So, for those in the audience, this is a DC 16 Charisma check.
Okay, so Amity, are you using Bardic Inspiration plus Enhance Ability on this?
That's right. Yeah, Bardic Inspiration, Enhance Ability. Python says there's a 94% chance, which isn't.
That's not 100. That's not 100.
Okay, so should I go ahead and roll it out?
I'm drum rolling. You
Go
can't hear
for
it, but I'm doing it.
All right. First of all,
out.
there's a D20 with advantage. With advantage, and that's a 5 and a 9. So we're at 9.
Ooh. That's not ideal.
That's not ideal. Yeah.
So the base roll's 9.
The base roll's 9. Actually, I add 5 for charisma, 1 for jack of all trades, and the D8 is at least 1. So this is at least 16, no matter what.
You had 2 for jack of all trades.
Hey.
Now. Hey.
Oh, I had 2 for jack of all trades. Oh my God, Bard's
could have rolled an 8. Wow, that's great.
Roll
right,
the D8.
so-
Roll the D8 anyway.
Yeah, roll the D8.
All
Let's see
right,
what you can do.
I'll roll the D8. I'll roll the D8. That's a 2 on the D8.
Ooh, that could have
Okay,
been ugly.
so that's 9 plus 5, so 14 plus 2, 16 plus 2, 18?
Yes.
Yes. Quick maths.
Okay. So, As Ebony begins casting the spell, there's a moment when you feel the power flicker around her. The candles dim very faintly, shadows lengthening, and then the light burns forth, flaring once more. You watch as around you, as she begins to cast the spell, her voice speeding up as she incants it, telling it like a story of a feast, a fantastic banquet leagues away in a royal palace. Slowly, silvery forms begin to emerge from the walls, stepping forth from the floor. As you watch, the spirits begin to bustle about the kitchen, about the corridors, about the central tap room of the inn, carrying with them bowls, plates, great pitchers with beautiful scented smells. And as one of them lowers a great silver-white spider-webbed tablecloth across the table, it settles and changes to a deep laced black that covers the entirety of the surface, intertwined with delicate but beautiful leaf-like embroiderings of brilliant autumnal colors, browns and greens, yellows, reds, and oranges. And as each spirit places down its place on the spread, you see and smell. The smell is indescribably delicious. An assortment of goods, not all breakfast foods, admittedly, but you see stuffed squash, shepherd's pie, trays of pecan tarts, roast pig, a full center in the middle of the table, roasted potatoes, a butternut squash soup that just is delectable to the senses. You see candied apples with wooden sticks in the center, both caramel and chocolate. You see pumpkin, apple pies piled too high, a tray of roast pheasants, and fresh loaves of bread with butter already melting atop the surface. Through it all, you can see pitchers of mulled wine. You see warm apple cider, bottles of hard cider sparkling within, and all throughout it the smells of rosemary, cinnamon, and nutmeg infusing your senses and making your mouths water. The spread is gorgeous. And as one, the spirits take a step back, bow toward Amity, and vanish into thin, silvery mist and the slight smell of oregano.
Oh my god.
Kiva's like drooling in the corner.
Oh, and one other thing. At the very center of the spread, raised on a small platform overlooking the other, is a carved pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern, lit by a brightly burning low candle just within. But instead of a frown, it is a great, jagged, toothy grin beaming out toward you, welcoming you, and inviting you to enjoy the feast.
I'm like crying again.
You know, normally I'd say grace, but given the look of this food, I'm going to go for one of the quicker blessings my dad taught me. Ahem. Good bread, good meat, good God, let's eat. Let's go. And...
Oh yeah, you don't need to tell her twice. She's in there.
Yep.
In there.
I can believe it.
It is disgusting, but it is beautiful.
Yeah. Amity's like calculating. She wants to eat everything, and so like, but there's so much. What's the optimum?
Aerith is like guiltily taking slices off of the roast pig and piling it high, and then just piling it high with pumpkin pie and tarts and mulled wine.
Am I correct in the assumption that we can't like pack stuff up and take it with us, right?
It disappears after we're done with it.
Yes.
Damn
will
it!
disappear at the end of the hour.
Damn it! All right. Well, she's gonna stuff her entire body full of delicious food.
Okay. I will need Amity to roll 2d10, please.
Oh.
Yes, exactly.
Before the feast, and before the hour feast begins, Emily will roll on the spirit table. But then, so this is a different d10. But then you want 2d10, and is that everyone's healing?
That's everyone gains that much maximum HP.
Yeah, cool.
Cross your fingers. 9.
It's a 9.
That's average.
Right.
Nice.
Right about the average, yep. All right, everyone gains 9 maximum hit points, including Ez, Casimir, Ismark, and Irina, and Davian.
Oh, that's sexy.
That is another good chunk of...
And Truffle. Truffle's the 12th.
And Truffle. Is he eating the pig?
No.
Yes.
Truffle
Pigs eat
doesn't
anything.
like, yeah.
In real life, pigs do. So yes.
So
All
it's
right,
9
all right.
temporary HP, or it's
9.
actual
just
hit
9
points.
maximum HP.
Healing will restore these.
oh
And short
fuck,
rests will
they're
also restore
permanent.
these.
They're
At least for the next
they're
24
for
hours.
24 hours.
Yeah,
Oh,
just today.
fuck
Just
yeah.
today.
Also, we're cured of any disease and poison, immune to poison and being frightened, and make
No.
whiz saves with advantage.
Why would we make whiz saves today?
I don't know.
No reason.
It's just a fringe benefit.
Can we pin that in chat so that because I will
yep,
forget
after-
that.
Yes.
Yep, after the session.
Yeah, sure.
That's like another 25% of my HP. This is so great.
Hey!
Are you out of average damage fireball range?
No.
We'll have to live with that.
Ah, well. Well then, with your feast happily devoured at the end of the hour, it begins to wisp away, ethereal like the spirits that conjured it, and vanishes into the ether. Your stomach's full, your spirits high, and your weapons at the ready. Is there anything more you would like to do? I presume that you will also pick up your items from your shopping trips, and Amity can secure 1 extra gilded skull, and Kiva a large amount of powdered silver. But errands aside, is there anything more you'd like to do before setting off?
I think we've said our goodbyes.
Amity does have a seance to do, which would take another
Alright.
hour.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Totally be done.
Absolutely. Amity will go ahead and begin a seance with if 2 other people would like to participate.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. And I don't know how much detail we want to go in. If we just want to, I can tell you that Amity is seancing for summon undead.
Okay. You're able to conduct the seance, pulling your compatriots together into a corner of the tap room, whatever secluded space you would prefer to keep. Setting up the candles with the violent burning lights at their tips, slowly bringing forth the darkness and the mist and the wall of spirits forming around you. And as you do, you find one of the spirits as you call for the one that can bestow upon the spell. A man steps forward with sallow but high cheekbones, pale skin, dark hair, offering his hand down toward you. If you would take this, to wield it against the devil in the castle, then take it with my blessing and rend him limb from limb.
Is that who I think it is?
Thank you for joining the fight, Amity says as she accepts the gift. Currently not in the position to answer that question.
He smiles a sharp, slightly cruel glint in his eye, and then steps back, vanishing, with the rest of the misted spirits around them. And so, with the seance completed, and goodbyes having been said and good food consumed, you bid farewell to the Woken Mardikovs, set off together down the winding road through Vallaki toward the outer gates of the town, and out toward the Svalich Road, with Castle Ravenloft waiting for you in the distance. And that is where we will end it for today. So, I'm excited for next week.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
You mean you mean 2 weeks from now? Oh, Halloween. Yes.
Oh yeah, 2 weeks away. Yeah.
But happy Halloween, folks.
Happy Halloween.
And you too can salivate over that red wall tier feast that Dragna came up with.
Bro, I'm so
Well, thank you.
freaking hungry right now.
It's unkind, but it was beautiful.
Why would you do this to me? Yeah.
Well, next
Alas.
time, it's the end.
Yep. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us today. We will see you all back in the mists next week. Until then, enjoy a spooky Halloween. Prepare yourselves for the castle's wrath, and take care.